Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. All people. My race is the 18-winged fallen angel. Chapter 111. Wow. The treasure box was opened, and countless strands of blue light floated out. These hairsprings gather together and turn into a towering void gate hundreds of meters long. Is this the gate of the plane? What a powerful space force, it is indeed a legendary treasure. Luo Sheng stood in front of the gate and exclaimed. He can clearly feel how huge the space power contained in the door is. It seems that this is the world connected by the gate of the plane. Through the door, he could vaguely see a vast continent in the blue sky. Then let's start as planned. Moment. Walk out of the void gate, a fallen demon. How? Luo Sheng asked. To the Lord of the Abyss, there is a forest on the other side of the gate. There are a lot of low-level monsters wandering around in the forest. Other than that, I haven't seen any outsiders, or even the mainland's native human race. The Fallen spoke methodically. Forest, that's fine. Luo Sheng nodded, because he still doesn't know where this gate of the plane is connected to, so he will not rashly send many arms directly into it. Therefore, it is the safest decision to let a fallen demon enter it to investigate first. And now that I know the location of the gate, which is in a forest, it's time to prepare. Please don't worry, my great lord, you will let my lord's name cover all the continents of the world again. Luo Sheng turned his head. An eternal fallen dark knight was kneeling on one knee in front of him. He put his right hand into a fist in front of the breastplate, lowered his head and said in a deep voice. Let's go then. Luo Sheng nodded. Follow orders. For this trip, he decided to send 10 eternal fallen dark knights, 10 lava gorfiends, and thousands of fallen demons and even necromancers and other low-level units. Wait until all the troops of this unit enter the gate in an orderly manner. Luo Sheng also re-entered the fortress. He opens the arena ranking. I saw that the top of the list is no longer me, but a reincarnation named Tiger Roar. 9 victories have been achieved. And his personal ranking was ranked hundreds of thousands away. It can be seen that there are many people participating in the competition. Let's make a quick decision. He smiled. We are matching you with competitors, please wait patiently. The match is successful. Sending for you, the process takes about 10 seconds. Luo Sheng soon returned to the vast arena again. Little Big Brother is so handsome. I don't know what your name is, Little Big Brother. A charming female voice came over. Under sight. On the opposite side of Luo Sheng, a woman with a graceful figure slowly walked out. The woman was dressed scantily and held a dagger in each hand. She smiled all over her face, looking at the handsome man in front of her who made her hormones soar. It was the first time she saw such a handsome man. Those purple eyes, as gorgeous as jewels, seemed to be able to hook her soul away. She stuck out her tongue and couldn't help licking the blade of the dagger in her right hand. Seeing that Luo Sheng remained silent, he couldn't help but chuckled. If Little Big Brother can say his name, I can hold back this competition for a while. Hold on, do you have the qualifications? Luo Sheng just answered. The countdown to the competition begins. 3, 2, competition begins. Hearing the words, the eyes of the woman who were originally full of smiles instantly turned cold. Qualification. Hey, it seems that you don't know the strength gap between us. Her purple wavy hair fluttered slightly on her back. A 12th level magical pressure is released. The woman held the dagger and slowly raised her arms. That was your last chance just now, Chi Mei. PFF'd. At the moment when she was about to cast a spell, she felt a sudden sharp pain in her abdomen, making her subconsciously look down. A sword of desire drilled out of the void, piercing her abdomen, and blood gushed out like a spring. You. The woman's face paled. Next moment, above her head, dozens of swords of desire appeared again. The dense rain of swords directly pierced it into 1,000 holes. Competition ends. Winner, Holy. Please choose. Continue competitive match, teleport away. Continue to match. Continuing to match competitors for you, please wait patiently. The match is successful. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Relying on the absolute suppression of his level and bloodline, Luo Sheng has easily won several games within half an hour. Congratulations on completing your first 10-game winning streak. You got a special random box. Yes, a special random box. Wait until you get out and then open it. Luo Sheng has no plans to open it directly. He's going to play a few more games. At the same time, Wanji Channel. Luo Sheng didn't know that his winning streak had caused huge waves. Holy shit, the holy boss is too terrifying. In less than 10 minutes, he directly won 9 games in a row, directly surpassed that Tiger Roar, and became the number 1 in the arena. Warlock Continent. 9 games were won in less than 10 minutes, and on average, 1 game was solved in 1 minute. This is too outrageous, so many people can't even last a few minutes in the hands of Shang. Abyss. It's too scary. I thought that in the previous killer event, that guy was able to rank first because of luck or external force. Now it seems that he underestimated. Fatty's Continent. Opening parenthesis ... closing parenthesis. In full view, Luo Sheng's victories continued to climb on the leaderboard. Another quarter of an hour passed. The last game. Let's take a break after this game, Luo Sheng said to himself, looking at his opponent in the last match. A waist-length red-haired woman wearing gorgeous knight armor slowly walked into his field of vision. The woman has a beautiful face, and her pair of handsome eyebrows has the feeling of repelling others thousands of miles away. It seems that Your Excellency is my opponent in the 10th match, Seville said calmly. Level 19. Seeing Luo Sheng explain her level in one word, Sevilla raised her eyebrows lightly, obviously a little surprised. However, after guessing that the other party might have treasures such as detection, the trace of surprise in his heart disappeared. Luo Sheng glanced at the other party with interest, and said, "You are the highest level reincarnator I have encountered in this arena so far. According to the rules of the arena, the more times a competitor wins in a row, the stronger the opponent will be. It's a pity that the top opponents in the arena are pitifully weak in his eyes. The female knight right now should be one of the strongest opponents that the arena can match for her." The other side, Sevilla, who is standing on the opposite side, now also has a trace of solemnity in her heart. Because the other party knows his own level, but his expression has never changed a little, and he can even be melted with Fu Wu Bo waves. Is there any whole card? Or maybe the opponent's level is no less than mine, she whispered. As the reincarnator with the highest level of 257 in the continent of Auria, even though she possesses dual legendary races and talents, she doesn't have any trace of pride and complacency. Because she knows very well that the top reincarnators in other major worlds are only stronger than her own. Especially the reincarnations in the 2 worlds of heaven and abyss. As far as she knew, not long ago, there were suspected reincarnations on the other side of the abyss that destroyed several kingdoms ruled by level 30 monsters. This level of strength was completely beyond her reach. Although I don't know the specific strength of the opponent, but as long as we go all out and deliver a blow, it is enough for him to have no chance to react. As time goes by bit, the countdown from the arena also arrived as scheduled. 3, 2, competition begins. The land of swords in the distance, the god of swords on top of the mountains, Yijing Jianju. The sound of the duel in the arena fell. Seville, who chanted the magic spell in her heart in advance, launched an attack in an instant. Wow, like a beam of light passing by. Her eyes are firm, powerful magic power covers her body and limbs, and her red hair is flying like a flame. Sevilla poured half of her power into the sword of Shengya in her hand, this epic first-order treasure she got from an ancient night temple. The sword of Shengya burst out with infinite light of dawn, as if it could sweep away all evil spirits in the world. Watching off the power of the fusing of the edge of the sword and the holy light that ravaged the earth. Luo Sheng said lightly, "Not bad power. If your level is more than 10 levels higher, I might avoid it by 3 points. But now the gap between you and me is completely different. Even if this epic treasure contains the holy light power that the abyssal race hates the most, it can't do any harm to him at all." Boom. The magic power condenses out of the magic shield. How is it possible? Sevilla, who has always been steady, saw that the thing blocking her sword was actually just a shield formed by condensing magic power, and she couldn't help but lose her face. Because the opponent didn't use any defensive magic, just relying on the shield formed by magic power to block his own sword. Although she had already guessed in her heart, Lu Sheng's strength might only be stronger than her own. But she couldn't imagine that the opponent's strength was so outrageous, and she could block her own sword with just relying on magic power. That's it, Luo Sheng thought slightly. A sword of desire emerged from the void on the left and right sides respectively. The 2 swords of desire rushed out with thunder and lightning. Boom. Sevilla flew upside down, hit the walls of the arena hard. Is it an epic first-order defensive treasure? No wonder it didn't die. His eyes fell on a golden badge hanging on Sevilla's chest. The badge glowed faintly. Her whole body was vaguely covered by a light curtain. Huchi, Huchi. Sevilla was half kneeling at this moment. The sword of Shungya held in both hands was stuck on the ground, panting. Her pupils were a little dull looking at the ground under her feet. She was very sure that if she hadn't been protected by the temple badge just now, she would have died. And it was just an ordinary blow from the opponent. Sevilla's deliciously pretty face is now as pale as a thin sheet of paper. Although she knows that there are people outside people and there is a sky beyond the sky, the strength Luo Sheng displayed at this moment has already exceeded the scope of her mind. You must know that even the most powerful reincarnator in the heavens is not so powerful. Luo Sheng looked at the delicate body that was visibly trembling with the naked eye. I just thought that the other party would choose to surrender. The latter staggered to his feet again. Luo Sheng chuckled, "Are you still ready to continue fighting? Your Excellency is the most powerful reincarnator I have ever met so far. But, I, Sevilla, will not back down from this." Sevilla took a deep breath, trying to suppress the fear in her eyes and heart. She's not dead. She can still fight. Anyway, dying in the arena is not a real death. So, she has nothing to worry about. The god of light representing dawn and hope, please send me the power to eliminate all evil. Shungya's sword was pulled out from the ground and raised slowly. I saw a prism-shaped golden mark appearing between Sevilla's brows. Judging from the power and aura Luo Sheng exerted, she asserted that the other party's reincarnated race must belong to the dark abyss. Then as long as you use the holy light from the gods of the heavens, there may be a chance. She concentrated all the remaining magic power on this one magic skill. Clatter. Wisps of golden halo lingered around her. Turned into an illusory white robe like a work of art and draped over the shoulders. Bathed in the holy light, Sevilla's face and armor, which were originally stained with a little dirt, instantly turned white. In an instant, she seemed to have transformed into a paladin. Drink. Sevilla raised her sword and slashed out. The golden sword energy surged like a vast ocean, boundless, covering the entire arena with majesty. Compared with the previous move, this move is obviously stronger but not weaker. Boom. The roar was endless. Seconds passed. Dusty arena. Ha. Cough cough cough. Sevilla coughed violently, and she half kneeled on the ground, holding the sword of Shungya inserted on the ground with both hands. She is exhausted now, and the magic power in her body is completely empty. Even if you can't defeat him, with the help of the holy light of the god of light, you should be able to. Sevilla raised her head with difficulty. Try to look at the dusty front. Not bad, but only good. Luo Sheng's calm voice came from the wind and dust. I saw, under Sevilla's trembling sight. An unprecedented sense of oppression is overwhelming. All the dust dispersed, and Sevilla saw a slender body floating in midair. Luo Sheng stood in the air, his deep purple eyes were cold and cruel, like an abyss in the endless darkness. King's Landing. The words are like an ancient clock swinging, deafening. Under the coercion, Sevilla collapsed to the ground. With her gradually blurred vision, she stared at the demon-like figure in midair. There is only one thought in her mind now. That's how small you are. A minute later, the Fort of Eternity. A phantom suddenly appeared on the cold and silent throne. It was Luo Sheng who had just teleported back from the arena. He rested his chin on his right hand. I didn't expect someone to reach level 19 so soon. Recently, he has been paying attention to the news of Wanji channel from time to time. Today, the top 26 reincarnators in the various worlds are at most hovering between the 16th and 18th levels. Really, there are many reincarnators like me who have been hiding their information. But if you think about it this way, maybe there are really reincarnators who have reached level 20 or even higher. Luo Sheng muttered to himself, and he shook his head again. Shrugging his shoulders, he said, forget it. I don't want to think about it so much. Now the focus is still on upgrading in the shuttle door. He raised his right hand lightly. Wisps of black air floated in his palm. Billowing black air is like black mist floating from the chimney. Gathered together, turned into a magic mirror. A dense jungle scene appeared in the magic mirror. It is the abyssal troops who arrived at the unknown continent through the gate of the plain. Eternal Fallen Dark Rider half kneeled on the ground, with his right hand forming a fist and placing it on his chest. He lowered his head, and countless dead breaths lingered in the cold helmet. The Eternal Fallen Dark Rider pays homage to the great and supreme Lord of the Abyss. How? Luo Sheng asked. The number of monsters in this unknown forest is huge, but the level of the monsters I have encountered so far is basically between 1 and 10. Now the Fang Yuan of this forest is completely under our control. Except, listening to the Eternal Fallen Dark Knight quickly reporting the current situation. Luo Sheng closed his eyes and listened, nodded slightly, very good. Then continue in this form. If there is any new information, report it to me immediately. Subordinates obey. The magic mirror collapsed. Luo Sheng couldn't help but said, it's a pity. The Shabir's box cannot set up fixed portals in other world locations. Although the plain gate of the Shabir's box can continue to lock on the previous teleportation location, the gate can only be stored for 10 minutes and there is still a 7-day cooldown. Otherwise, some of his plans could be launched directly. It would be perfect if I could establish one more territory there. However, if you want to establish territories in other worlds, you must have a high enough territory level, or you must have some special arms and buildings to do this. He opened the arena ranking. 1. Holy, number of wins, 16. 2. Sin of God, number of wins, 10. 3. Laint, number of wins, 9. 4. Tiger Roar, number of wins, 9. Opening square bracket opening parenthesis ... closing parenthesis. P.S. The number of wins refers to the number of consecutive victories. There are still 4 games left, which means 20 consecutive victories. He glanced at his winning streak, and then glanced at the top 100 rankings. The basic winning streak is 6 games or more, and the female knight who fought against him before should also be in the top 10. It's a pity that he was matched by the system to himself. As a result, after being defeated by himself, the winning streak was cleared. If you want to regain the top 10, you can only continue to play. But what Luo Sheng didn't know was, the scene I just had brought huge psychological trauma to the latter continent of Auria. The Agrancy Empire is located in the sacred mountains of the eastern continent. The sacred iron wall with a height of several thousand meters is like a world tree, pointing straight to the sky, surrounding the royal city of this ancient empire. Legend has it that it has resisted the invasion of several demon gods from the abyss. In the center of the royal city, there is a majestic imperial palace. Lance Imperial Palace seems to be an art collection of this continent. Every inch of it seems to be carefully carved by a world-class craftsman, which is breathtakingly beautiful. Duke Seville, this is the Guangshan water area you mentioned earlier. 21. In the center of the resplendent palace, sat a white-haired old man. If someone asks who is the most powerful person in this eastern continent, the hale-eyed old man in front of him is definitely one of them. After all, his every word can affect every move of this ancient empire. Caesar Augustus holds a golden staff. At the top of the golden rod are carved 6 holy angels. Each of the 6 angels holds a colorful magic bead in both hands. Hundreds of meters before Caesar Augur, on the carpet stood a heroic woman. The woman has delicate makeup and a red single ponytail. Although wearing knight armor, you can still see the graceful figure with bumps and convexities. Sevilla took the box from a black armored knight beside her. Before opening it, she felt a strong induction fluctuation in the blood force in her body. What a powerful power of the god of light, she exclaimed in her heart. Open it and have a look, Caesar August said calmly. Seville nodded to the former, and slowly opened this exquisite novel. Inside the red soft cloth was a palm-sized golden crystal. The crystal is full of colorful light, and it seems that there is water flowing inside, reflecting a little bit of golden light. How? Caesar Augustus asked. Heard the words. Sevilla seemed to react from the shock in the crystal. She quickly closed the box, put her right hand on her chest, and performed the oldest etiquette in the Agaranth Empire. Thank you, Your Majesty, Sevilla. It's a small matter. Caesar August waved his left hand lightly, with a smile on his old face. This Guangshan crystal is a priceless treasure for the great empires and other forces. In Caesar August's opinion, if a piece of light god crystal and a duke position can make friends with an outsider who has the blood of light god, The benefits that the latter can bring to the empire in the future will definitely far exceed the former. Besides this Guangshan crystal, if the Duke of Seville needs anything else, feel free to mention it to the Emperor. Sevilla once again thanks His Majesty for your kindness and generosity. Sevilla bowed her head deeply and said gratefully. Caesar Augustus nodded slightly, and his fluffy white beard fell here. My lord sees Duke Sevi's complexion is not very good. What happened? Seville, who heard these words, was silent for a while. With a wry smile, thanks to your Majesty's concern. To be honest, I just competed with a reincarnated person. Seville didn't want to hide it from Caesar Augustus. After all, this kind of thing is not a secret. And more importantly, the lord of the empire in front of him has a terrifying identity. That is the strongest day-level magician of the Agarans Empire, a well-deserved legendary powerhouse. As long as the other party thinks about it, this little secret of his own won't matter at all. The Duke of Seville appears to be defeated, Caesar August said lightly. Sevilla didn't have the slightest intention to defend herself. He nodded his head lightly. Vermilion lips parted slightly. Yes. Just as your Majesty said. Luo Sheng's domineering figure who looks down on all living beings is still vivid in her mind. Duke Sevi possesses the bloodline of the Bright Saint, which is rare in 10,000 years. In just a few months, he has been promoted from the 1st level to the 19th level. The speed is so fast. Looking at the Agarlan's empire and even the entire continent of Auria history is unprecedented. As far as I know, the famous aliens from other great empires are far inferior to you. I don't know where the gods have such astonishing strength. Caesar August's deep eyes that seemed to be able to see through all the truths in the world showed a hint of interest. Sevilla shook her head and said, maybe I will disappoint His Majesty. The other party is not in the Auria continent, but in another world. It's not in this continent, that's a pity. Caesar August closed his eyes and sighed softly. Then the Lord of the Empire opened his eyes again and said, then the Emperor will not waste the time of Duke Sevi, you can leave. Thank you, Your Majesty. She bowed respectfully and turned to leave. Watching that figure leave the palace, Caesar August's side was empty. Out of a silver armor swordsman. The swordsman is tall and tall, with a big sword hanging from his waist and even his back. He knelt down on one knee facing Caesar August. Your Majesty, are you really sure that these reincarnated people will help us in the future? Don't worry, we have all signed an agreement with the Empire. Now the Empire provides them with all assistance, and in the future, if the Empire needs it, they must also help the Empire. The Emperor knows what you are worried about, and the Emperor has his own measure. It's Karl who is talking too much, please forgive me, Your Majesty. The swordsman bowed his head and said hastily. Needless to say, you are also for the Empire, the Emperor understands. Caesar August stroked his beard. And now that all forces are trying their best to win over those outsiders with strong bloodlines, the Agarans Empire must not be left behind. Not to mention the prophecy has come true. Whether this emperor can regain the former glory of the empire depends on this time. Caesar August's voice suddenly became powerful. Think back thousands of years ago. The sacred iron cavalry of the Agaranth Empire has stepped across any corner of the continent of Auria. But because of a huge change. As a result, the strength of the empire that was known as the Immortal Holy Land declined greatly, and it could no longer replicate its former glory. The current Agalan's empire is one of the 10 empires in the continent of Auria. But his Caesar August ambition will never allow his empire to step up to this little emperor. 7 days later, Fatus continent, 25 consecutive victories. Is this saint a monster? At this moment, a purple-haired man stared fiercely at the virtual panel in front of him. The information displayed on the panel is impressively the arena line. Now the number 1 is Saint. Rankings like the killer event haven't been around for a long time. The conquest who focused on leveling up and solving many trivial things gradually ignored the existence of Holy. Now the emergence of competitive rankings. It reminded him of this nightmare existence again. Conquer's hands clenched tightly. When he thought of Luo Sheng extorting a large amount of spar from himself, he felt angry. Because not long after he paid for the expensive spar, a very important item to him was suddenly listed on the exchange. And the price of that item was so high that he, who was just penniless, couldn't get it out for a while. As a result, When he had no choice but to borrow crystals from other reincarnated people, the object was snapped up by others. Also because of this, the progress of the conquest is directly behind by a large margin. Otherwise, if he successfully snatched that item, his current level would be at least level 19 or even level 20. If my level is increased by 1 or 2 levels, my current arena ranking will be at least within 10. He is currently ranked 29th in arena. This is far from his original target of being within 10. Jiao Jiao Hao. If you want to enter the top 10, you must win 3 more games. Conquer gritted his teeth. According to the rules of the arena, no matter whoever loses 1 game, then the number of consecutive victories will be cleared directly, and the competitive match will start from the beginning. A few days ago, he lost a game. Start all over again. This is also the reason why he is still unmatched now. Most of the top 20 reincarnators on the leaderboard were in the dozens or even hundreds of places in the rankings of the killers before. Why has his strength become so exaggerated in just a few months? For example, the red-haired knight who defeated him a few days ago seemed to be called Sevilla. He remembered that the former seemed to be around 200 in the killer event. Unexpectedly, the current level has been raised to level 19 monster. Taller than him. After closing the arena ranking, on the right side of the conquest, a ray of golden soul emerged from the void. My great master, the Wind Dragon Valley accepts your request. Conquer, who was in a bad mood, the moment he heard this sentence. The expression on his face changed suddenly. He turned his head quickly, seemingly unbelievable, and asked again, "You said that the Wind Dragon Valley has agreed to all my conditions?" "Yes, my great master," the golden soul said respectfully. "Ha ha ha, God help me, really God help me." Conquer suddenly raised his head and laughed excitedly. The Valley of the Wind Dragon is the gathering place for the giant dragons of the fattest continent, and it is also one of the most powerful forces in the fattest continent today. A month ago, he had gone to Shangfang Dragon Valley, wanting to make a deal with those powerful dragons. However, because of the conditions of this transaction, several leading Ji Yulong proposed to think for a while before reaching a conclusion. Now that a month has passed, seeing that there has been no reply from the Valley of the Wind Dragon, he is hesitating whether to reduce the conditions a bit in order to facilitate the deal. Unexpectedly, as soon as this idea came up on the front foot, the good news of promise came from the Valley of the Wind Dragon feet later. Very good. With the help of Wind Dragon Valley, my plan will be implemented soon. Conquering his right hand clenched tightly, there was a touch of excitement in his eyes. As long as the plan can be completed, his strength will be changed drastically. Aside from this, is there anything else that Jinling does? Conquer turned around. The latter was silent for a moment. Suddenly said, "To the great master, the dragon-armored winged beast that was wandering around and patrolling just now suddenly roared towards the distant Warji forest. Wolfsheisen, I remember that forest is just a bunch of low-level monsters. Is there anything worthy of the dragon-armored winged beast's attention? Wait, did some treasure appear?" Conquer was stunned for a moment, then his eyes jumped. He solemnly said, "Let the dragon-armored winged beast enter Wolfsheisen to investigate the situation first." Yes, after a while, tens of thousands of meters away from here, there is a lush and vast dense forest. Every tree in the dense forest is extremely majestic, tall and straight, like a world tree, straight into the nebula. The whole forest is so vast that you can't see the end at a glance. And on top of the forest, the snow-white mist is continuous and turns into a sea of clouds, showing the wind and sunshine of a fairyland in the sun. This is the famous wall forest in the southern part of fattest continent. According to legend, 2/3 of the land in the south was originally a lifeless desert. But because one day, a Mother Earth goddess in charge of life fell here, the powerful and immortal divine power instantly turned this desert into a vibrant oasis. Among them, this wall's forest is the central point of the death of the gods. Please rest assured, the Supreme Lord of the Abyss, we will surely complete the task you assigned. In front of a huge mossy stone, half kneeling a burly figure. The wisps of sunlight shining from the sky fell on the surface of the former's dark armor and were instantly swallowed up. The armor on the eternal fallen Dark Rider is like a black hole that can swallow everything, it is fateful and terrifying. When the magic mirror on the moss stone disappears, he stood up slowly, and the cloak behind him fluttered in the wind. Does my lord have any new orders? A black shadow in the sky fell at a high speed. Boom! The ground cracked and sunken into a hole. In the rising smoke, a blood-red shadow gradually emerged. It's the lava gorefiend. A pair of lava demon wings spread out behind the lava gorefiend. The bubbling lava slowly flows in the body of the demon that symbolizes chaos and madness. Lord of the Abyss, let us continue to act according to the previous plan. But besides that, ABDF, he asked me to wait to investigate the specific information of this continent. The voice just fell. The lava gorefiend seemed to have finally heard what he wanted to hear. He grinned, leave this matter to me. The Eternal Fallen Knight looked at the other party, and said coldly, Blood Demon, the Lord of the Abyss has personally explained it, don't startle the snake, you. Don't worry, I have my own measure. The gorefiend sneered, just about to soar into the sky. The whole person paused. At the same time, the Eternal Fallen Dark Knight also sensed something and turned his head in a direction. This breath doesn't look like a monster, but rather like the arms summoned by the strange thinker. The Eternal Fallen Dark Knight let out a cold voice. Leave it to me to solve. The lava gorefiend let out bursts of sinister laughter, as if, finding the prey you want. Outside Waltham, a bird or beast is flying towards the forest. The birds and beasts are tens of meters long and look like griffins, but there is no hair on the whole body. Instead, pieces of golden dragon scales covered the whole body. The light of the sun shining from the sky fell on the smooth scales. Reflect colorful Ruagwong. The dragon-armored winged beast is one of the most satisfying units summoned by Conquer so far. Not only has attack and defense, but also the speed is extremely fast. A 10th level dragon-armored winged beast already has the speed of some flying creatures that have reached level 15. Moreover, the dragon-armored winged beast is extremely sensitive to magic power, which is why Conquer sent the winged beast to check it out. The power I felt before suddenly disappeared. With a pair of golden beast eyes, the dragon-armored winged beast patrolled the surrounding fields around the forest. He had previously felt an extremely terrifying magic power flashing away in this Wargy forest. But now after he approaches this place, the magic was gone. It's like it never showed up. Is everything just an illusion? This thought just popped into the dragon-armored winged beast's mind. The huge animal head shook again. Impossible. The magic power that flashed just now cannot be an illusion. He possesses the Bai Linglong family of the giant dragon blood in his body. Although the purity is very low, but based on this alone, it is absolutely impossible to make mistakes in the perception of magic power. While the dragon-armored winged beast was thinking, he also flew to the sea of clouds above Walsheisen. Overlooking the vast and dense forest below, the dragon-armored winged beast Desire began to cast magic to detect the movement around it. Is it the Dragon Clan? No, judging by the aura, it should be Yulong, but it's pretty close. This sudden laughter rose spontaneously, causing the eyes of the dragon-armored winged beast to shrink suddenly. Who is it? The dragon-armored winged beast suddenly raised its head, opened its mouth, and roared like a cloud, covering the surrounding area. The terrifying sound wave blew away all the clouds and mist around him. It caused countless towering trees below the clouds to crumble. It's a pity that although this mid-level magic skill is powerful, it is pitifully weak in front of the lava gorefiend who is at an absolute level advantage. However, this is the first time I have come outside the abyss to hunt and kill dragon-like creatures. Suddenly, the terrified eyes of the dragon-armored winged beast fell on, in front. I saw a blood-red figure symbolizing death and endless killing, and I don't know when it appeared in front of me. The lava gorefiend is surrounded by crimson abyssal fire, and the continuous abyssal magic seems to hate all creatures in the world. This breath, is a devil. The dragon-armored winged beast's breathing became tight and heavy, and his huge body trembled slightly visible to the naked eye, as if it was in the center of an earthquake. Demons are regarded as evil messengers by all major races. Because of these two words that seem to be taboo. The meaning behind it is the abyss that is most feared by all continents and even heaven. But why did the demons that should exist in the abyss appear in this king of volume? No, this matter must be told to the master. It was also when the dragon-armored winged beast was whispering in its heart. The lava gorefiend has launched an attack. Wow. He turned into a blood glow, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of the dragon-armored winged beast. So fast. The dragon-armored winged beast turned pale with shock. Listen to the dragon curse. The scales that resemble pieces of golden wheels burst out wisps of dazzling golden light. Thousands of beams of golden light converge at one point and turn into a golden shield. It's now. The moment the cross golden shield blocked the attack. The dragon-armored winged beast turned around decisively and galloped away. The wings on the back flapped with all their might. Catch, point 1. But just as the dragon-armored winged beast flew tens of meters away, the cross golden soul, condensed by exhausting most of its own magic power on the back, was torn apart. Not good. The dragon-armored winged beast was terrified. A magic pillar of lava, like a rainbow penetrating the sun, struck heavily on the back of the dragon-armored winged beast. The lava hellfire instantly engulfed the huge body of the winged beast, turning it into ashes. It's not comfortable enough. It would be great if I could kill more creatures. The lava gore-fiend shook his head. His unsatisfied magic eyes looked at a tribe not far away, ready to move. But when he thought of the Lord's order, his violently beating heart quickly returned to calm. He can't ruin the Lord's plan just for the sake of instant pleasure. He raised his right hand. At the place where the dragon-armored winged beast died earlier, a white light floated in the air. These wandering lights flew to the palm of the lava gore-fiend and turned into a soul. The abyss creates everything, the abyss destroys everything. The gore-fiend stared at the winged beast's soul coldly, then proceeded to plunder the memory. After counting interest, the corner of lava gore-fiend's mouth was drawn. My lord will definitely like this news. At the same time, Nishai's territory. In the golden magnificent castle. In the resplendent golden hall, the original peaceful atmosphere was broken by a piercing sound. The porcelain cup in Conqueror's hand fell to the ground and turned into pieces. Owner. The door is pushed open. 2 dragonmen rushed in quickly with guns. Master, are you okay? Seeing that there were no enemies around, a dragonman stepped forward quickly. He said respectfully, Master, are you okay? I'm fine. Conquer took a deep breath and said slowly. At this moment, his eyes are completely fixed on a unit panel in front of him. He is now watching with his own eyes, the troops in his row. A dragon-armored pterosaur is dead. And the dead dragon-armored winged beast was the one he sent to scout Wargeisen. What the hell is going on? With the strength of the dragon-armored winged beast, how could it die in such a place? As for that piece of Wargi forest, although he has never been there in person. But there is a lot of information about it. As far as he knew, the most powerful monsters in that Wargi forest were at the 11th or 12th level at most. It was impossible for them to be opponents of the top sub-dragon arms like the dragon-armored winged beast. And if you really encounter something invincible, dragon-armored pterosaurs can also escape. What kind of creature is it that makes the dragon-armored winged beast even have no chance to escape? Conquer the right hand to cover the eyebrows. He couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. The strength to kill the dragon-armored winged beast is probably close to level 15 or 16, or even level 17 or the 18th of may not be impossible. Conquering narrowing his eyes slightly, he said in a deep voice. He then raised his head, his dignified eyes fell on the dragon soldier in front, let all the soldiers gather here. Immediately. Fortress of Eternity. Luo Sheng sat leisurely on the throne, holding a glass of bright red wine in his right hand. He took a sip. What? The lava gore-fiend pays homage to the sovereign lord. Say it straight. Just now, a unit of outsiders broke into this wall's forest, and now it has been killed by the servants and robbed of the memory. Lava gore-fiend told Luo Sheng the information he got in an orderly manner. Luo Sheng listened quietly. After sorting out all the information, Wei Wei nodded, I understand. The servant won't bother you, my lord. First. The Abyss Gore-Fiend and Eternal Fallen Dark Knight in the Magic Mirror are respectful. The magic mirror disappears. Luo Sheng drank the wine in his hand and put it back into the space backpack. It turns out that the continent connected by the gate of the plane is Faddis continent. He had obtained a lot of information about this continent on the Wanji channel before. In this way, the overall strength of the T's continent, although not top-notch in many big worlds, still belongs to the first echelon of the continent. Although there are many risks in a powerful world, the resources obtained instead are unmatched by ordinary worlds. Looks like the strategic plan needs to be reworked a little bit. According to Lava Gore-Fiend, the Walls Forest where they are now is located in the southern part of Faddis continent, which can also be called the Southern Continent. It's located in a remote part of the southern continent, so it's quite safe. The 10th level sub-dragon unit has the strength close to the 14th level. It seems that the master of that unit is not low in strength and reincarnation talent, Shao. The armies of the reincarnated are now dead in the volume's forest. If nothing else happens, he will only have two choices. Luo Sheng rested his chin on his right hand and said calmly. One is to send more troops here to investigate the situation, and the second is to wait and see what happens and not act rashly. But no matter what the choice of the reincarnated person is, in his opinion, it will not affect his plan. After all, none of the reincarnations in the various continents could catch his eye. The only real threats to him now are the local forces in those continents. Now my level has reached level 35. If my bloodline wants to further improve and transform into an 8-winged fallen angel, 630 needs to reach level 50. And to upgrade the territory to the 4th level, it needs 4,000 levels. It seems that the upgrade is urgent. This time, the pre-level conditions required for bloodline promotion are higher than those for territory promotion. Obviously, this represents the changes brought about by the next bloodline upgrade, which is likely to be a qualitative change. Great my lord, I have something to report to you. In front of him, a demon appeared. What's up? Luo Sheng said lightly. A few minutes ago, 4 abyssal creatures around level 30 appeared on the ruins of the Red Devil Kingdom. After Luo Sheng heard these words, his eyes narrowed all of a sudden. 30 level abyssal creatures, and 4 appeared at once. In today's first layer of the abyss, only those abyss lords can have such deep strength. Which abyss lord sent it? According to the information sent, those 4 guys are all from Chiuan territory, the core of the inner domain. Chiuan territory, it really is him. The corners of Luo Sheng's mouth hooked slightly. Chiuan territory is exactly the place controlled by Lord Fang Abyss behind the Red Devil Kingdom. What now? He immediately set his sights on the fallen demon. Under those oppressive gazes, the fallen's head lowered a little more. He respectfully said, My Lord Holy Mage has followed your Lord's order long before, and wiped out all the remaining breath of the Red Devil Kingdom and even other Dark Goblin Kingdoms. Those guys from Chiuan territory left the ruins after finding nothing. Luo Sheng nodded slightly. Every step he takes now is perfectly within his plan. According to the information I got, the overall strength of the Chiuan territory, the strength of all the Abyss Lords on the entire first floor of the Abyss is also at the upper level. And Lord Chiuan himself is at least between 40th and 50 levels. Although with my current strength and other trump cards such as the Immortal Yuan armor, I already have the power to fight the Chiuan Lord, but the overall strength of the territory still has a big gap. After all, apart from the Lord, there are still a few abyssal creatures that have stepped into the 4th rank in Chiuan territory. It will take a while longer. He whispered, now is not the time to head with Kai Yuan's territory. Otherwise, even if you win at that time, it will only be a tragic victory, and the gains outweigh the losses. Once the war starts, I must do absolute crushing. A trace of blood arc flickered between his pupils. After all, he must not give other Abyss Lords any chance to react. Is there anything else going on? There is none left. Then back off. After the fallen have left, Luo Sheng couldn't help recalling one thing. By the way, I almost forgot about this thing. The random box I got from the arena before has not been opened yet. The special random box is being opened for you, please wait patiently. Detected that the current environment is suitable for using talents, and is using Supreme Favor. Congratulations to the odd level item, the Holy Grail at the end 1. A legendary item, let me see what level it is. Luo Sheng is not surprised that he can get legendary items, because this is the power of Supreme Favor. Holy Grail at the end of reincarnation. Level. Legendary Tier 9. Introduction. One of the top 10 most powerful demon gods in the Abyss, the demon god's heart of the lust demon god Bilya. Effect. Mother God's Favor holder will be immune to all spiritual spells below level 20 above themselves. Endless magic spring. As long as Bilya Moon does not die, someone will have a body of magic power equal to that of Bilya Moon. Opening parenthesis ... closing parenthesis. The effect of this item is really abnormally strong. Luo Sheng's eyes showed an extremely excited expression. The last time he showed such an expression was when he summoned Lilith or obtained the immortal armor. I thought that the random box this time would at most be the same as last time, with a legendary item. I didn't expect that even the origin of the demon god can be opened. Right now, every effect on this item, combined, is enough to rival a legendary item. For example, the second, Endless Magic Spring, is blessed by this effect. It is equivalent to having infinite magic power. That alone was enough to surprise him. Moreover, the effect of this treasure has not yet been fully displayed. He saw that behind the effect, there were obviously many boxes, but they were all extremely gloomy. I don't know if it's because the level is not reached, or because of other reasons. Now that we have this item, we will have a great chance of winning against Chiuan territory in the future. Luo exhaled softly, his eyes sharp. At the same time, a certain layer of continent in the abyss. Which, thief, dare to steal my core? The cold voices of women seemed to come from the deepest part of the abyss, long building temple. No matter any living being, hearing this voice containing the traces of resentment and anger, it seems that the soul will be swallowed up. Next moment, this vast continental plate unexpectedly cracked a bottomless crack. The cracks are pitch black and can't be seen at a glance. Clatter. Countless extreme chills gushed out from the cracks. There is a vast expanse of blackness, as if the aurora burst out in the daytime. I saw the dim sky that covered the sun, and it turned into a frosty wall in the blink of an eye. The earth turned into ice, and towering and threatening ice peaks rose from the ground. In a short moment, this layer of lifeless dead land has turned into an eternal ice and snow land. The entire world and even the speed of time seem to be frozen. It's coming soon. Time is coming. I will soon return to the abyss. At that time, you will have to wait for the thief to pay a heavy price. One layer of the abyss. Forever land. Luo Sheng was scrolling through the Wanji channel and the abyss channel as usual. After all, these two channels are the only channels through which he can understand the real situation of the outside world. Wanji channel. Tisk tisk, have you heard? The Demon Sword Empire in the Masa continent is now offering a bounty to capture us reincarnators, each with an intermediate spar. Dragon continent. I already knew about this. I also heard that apart from the Demon Sword Empire, other empires on that continent also issued reward orders. Now the reincarnated people on that side of the continent are like rats crossing the street, old and miserable. Fortunately, I was lucky and didn't reincarnate in that kind of ghost place. On the continent where I am, the major imperial forces not only did not hunt down us, they rushed to recruit us reincarnated people to join them. Fatty's continent. W plus WBW at. My situation here is similar to Fatty's continent upstairs. Moreover, the power of my kingdom here also calls us, the brave men who save the world, and treats us reincarnated like their biological parents, so cool. Sauron continent. There is no human life here. I also want to go to your mainland. Upstairs Ib. Ask for blessings. Luo Sheng swiped down to look at the messages sent by these people. So far, he has known many local forces in the mainland world. Basically, they are trying their best to attract those reincarnations with high talent and bloodlines who came to their own world to join their camp. These continental powers seem to have received some revelations and prophecies of fate, and they are not too surprised by these aliens who suddenly descended. As for the slaughter and persecution of reincarnated people, this is the first time he has seen it other than Abyss. And the mysterious system that got us here. Is this a game of the gods, or something else? Luo raised his chin, and his deep eyes fell on the virtual panel. He thought for a while, then shook his head. This kind of thing is not something he can discuss at this stage. He closes the channel, just about to get up and do something. The scroll of arms line that you are following on the exchange, there are new items on the shelves. Oh, finally someone got this type of item. Luo Sheng immediately clicked to check. Advanced Random Unit Scroll. Level. Rare Level 1. Introduction. After opening the scroll, you can randomly match a new summoned alien according to your own blood and talent. Price. 10,000 low-grade crystals. Seller. Ridiculous Man. Note. This type of scroll can only be used once by each reincarnation. 8,000 low-level crystals are exchanged for a new unit, no loss. While talking, Luo Sheng bought this troop scroll. Without any hesitation, after sweeping the treasure houses of 6 dark goblin kingdoms, these 8,000 low-level crystals are nothing to him. Let me see what kind of new arms we can get. Luo Sheng took out the scroll and opened it. The high-level random unit scroll is being opened for you, please wait patiently. It has been detected that the current environment is suitable for using talents, and is using supreme favor for you. Congratulations on your acquisition of a new unit, Undead Abomination. He opened the summoning interface of the building, Devil God's Desire Field. The number of summoning crystals and abyssal souls required to discover this new unit is basically the same as that of Lava Gorefiend and Eternal Fallen Knight. But the only difference is that to summon this new unit, an additional High Priest Skull is required. Summon one out to have a look. The corners of Luo Sheng's mouth were slightly raised, and his eyes showed a trace of eagerness. He really wanted to know the strength of this new unit. The press that accompanies the call. The majestic statue of the demon god shone with a dark glow like the night. At the same time, bursts of treacherous Migi escaped from the magic circle. You see the supreme lord of the abyss. A low-pitched roar came from the hazy mist. With grievances like the screams of countless undead, it echoed in this vast palace like a hammer, making people feel harsh and uncomfortable. The mist was slowly pushed away. A slender figure in a mysterious purple robe floated out slowly. Immortals hate putting their hands in their sleeves. Under the robe was a face that was so pale that there was no trace of blood. After seeing Luo Sheng, he immediately prostrated himself on the ground. Undead hate. Level 20. Faction. Chaotic evil. Trust level 100. Absolute loyalty. Skills. Undead building technique, rare level 3, family of the dead, advanced level 6, abyssal storm, advanced level 9, flash and flesh pouring, rare level 1. Introduction. The top architectural mage in the human empire, because of the power of the abyss, transformed into the only abyssal architectural mage in the abyss. Note. The buildings built by the Undead Abomination will automatically turn the surrounding land into the territory of the Eternal Fallen Territory. A unit that can build buildings. Luo Sheng looked overjoyed when he saw the unit panel. What he needs most urgently now is something that can expand his territory. I didn't expect this new unit to be able to build buildings for itself and expand its territory. This is a blessing in disguise. What buildings can you build today? Luo Sheng opened his mouth to ask. Return to the great and supreme Lord of the Abyss. Except for the Lord's castle and some unique buildings, you can build other buildings. Undead hated respectfully. The unique buildings he refers to are naturally the Demon God's Desire Field and the Eternal Castle. Finished listening, Luo Sheng nodded slightly. The Demon God's Desire Field, which is a special and unique building, cannot be built, and he also expected it. Very good. You go back first. As ordered. Undead hated and made a pious kneeling salute, and slowly retreated. Luo Sheng looked at the number of all current arms, took out a glass of wine from the space on his right hand, and took a sip. He chuckled lightly and said, "It seems that Faddis's plan should be changed appropriately. Now that he has the building unit of Undead Abomination, he can directly establish a new territory in Faddis Continent." A day later. Faddis Continent. Walson. How about it? The Eternal Fallen Dark Knight looked at the Lava Gorefiend that was falling rapidly from the sky. Lava Gorefiend folded his wings. I have found the territory of that outsider. It's located on a plain tens of thousands of meters east of the Warji Forest. How is the strength? The Eternal Fallen Dark Knight let out a chilling sound. The level of that outsider is not clear, but when I observed it with the eyes of the devil, I could feel that there were 10 extremely powerful city dragon bloodlines in the territory. I think the level of that outsider should not be low. The Lava Gorefiend said, his eyes full of killing and cruelty were thoughtful. If the strength of that alien was not very good, he would have gone down to massacre, took the head of that ant, and claimed credit for the great Lord of the Abyss. The Eternal Fallen Dark Knight pondered for a while, and just wanted to say something. A burst of dazzling white light suddenly bloomed in the space behind. I saw a void gate nearly 100 meters high appearing out of thin air. Seeing this, the Eternal Fallen Dark Knight and Lava Gorefiend immediately came to the front of the gate, knelt down on one knee, and bowed their heads deeply. With one voice, I will pay my respects to the great and supreme Lord. The white glow on the gate gradually dissipated, revealing a clear and smooth mirror surface. In the mirror, stood an unusually handsome man. It was Luo Sheng. How's the situation now, my lord, my subordinate just? The lava gore fiend explained the matter of the territory just now in an orderly manner. Luo Sheng, who was standing opposite the door, listened to all this quietly, showing a look of interest. Oh, it can make a middle-level demon like a lava gore fiend feel intimidated. The level of this reincarnator seems to have reached the level of 19 and 20. Interesting. It seems that there are quite a few strong reincarnations in Fatus continent. I see. But let's put this aside. The most urgent thing is to complete the construction of the territory first. Luo Sheng said, waving his right hand lightly. 3 undead abominations appeared from the side. The task will be entrusted to you. Please rest assured, the Supreme Lord of the Abyss, you will definitely turn this new world into your holy land as quickly as possible. The hoarse voice fell slowly, and the 3 undead abominations left this place through the plane gate of the magic box. After closing the gate of the plane, Luo Sheng returned to the Fort of Eternity. Your hero unit, the level of Lilith Chesia has been raised to level 27. Just as he was about to sit down, Lu Sheng heard the sound of the system. Lilith has risen to level 27 so quickly, so fast. His eyes lit up, and he opened the hidden kill information. Your hero unit, Lilith Chesia, killed a level 20 Dark Conqueror and gained 800 experience points. Your hero unit, Lilith Chesia, killed a level 20 Titan Ancient Lizard and gained 800 experience points. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. A line full of Lilith's kill information. After closing the panel, he opened the arena ranking again. A few days passed, and he was still at the top of the list. In the cruel arena, the ranking in the leaderboard is basically changing every moment and every second. This is the case even for the reincarnators ranked among the top 10. He noticed that the rankings from the 2nd to the 10th had all changed, not the same ranking as a few days ago. In the entire ranking, the only exception is myself. The bright red number of 25 consecutive victories, like the highest brand, is deeply imprinted on the leaderboard. 5 more victories, we will be able to win 10 consecutive victories. The corners of Luo Sheng's lips curled up as he spoke, and he clicked, start matching. We are matching you with competitors, please wait patiently. As soon as this waiting message appeared, another message came out in the next second. The match is successful. Sending for you. The process takes about 10 seconds. Leave Wang's, it's so fast this time. Quote. Luo Sheng raised his eyebrows and revealed a hint of surprise. He had won 20 games in a row before. The matching time becomes longer, and it usually takes nearly 5 or 6 minutes to match the opponent. As for the reason, Luo Sheng naturally knew it too. That is, the matching system has completely failed to find an opponent who can fight him. I hope this time the opponent won't let me down. Smiling, he closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he came to this familiar arena. Ha ha ha, I have waited for several hours in vain, and I have finally been matched with someone. I don't know which unlucky guy is my sandbag this time. Too loud laughter echoed in the arena like thunder. Luo Sheng stared at his opponent in this field. In front of, a blood-colored figure stepped into Luo Sheng's eyes. The breath of the abyss, no, besides that, there is a trace of the power of the demon god. Luo Sheng looked at each other with great interest. Lu Zaffa has a burly body, nearly 7 meters high, like a small pavilion. The skin of his whole body is dark red, and there are 2 pairs of huge snail-shaped horns on his forehead, and there is a tail like a dragon on his back. Although this appearance resembles the image of an abyssal demon, Luo Sheng is very clear that the other party's reincarnated race is by no means a demon, but an abyssal creature above demons. After all, this was the first time he met someone with the blood of a reincarnated person who possessed the power of a demon god. That's right, since you can say it, you must also be a reincarnation in the abyss. After discovering that Luo Sheng is also a reincarnated person in the abyss, Lu Ku's ferocious face couldn't help showing a slight smile. I saw him raising his sharp right paw, it's a pity. If you are a reincarnated race from another world, you still have the ability to fight back against my blood pressure. It's a pity that you are an abyssal race, and you met me. Lucifer shook his head. It seems to have seen the end of Luo Sheng. Facing the incomparably rampant tone of the other party, Luo smiled without saying a word. It seems that he is very confident in his own racial blood. Seeing that there was no wave on Luo Sheng's face, Lucifer smiled even more. Since you don't believe it, let you and other low-blooded people see it. The countdown to the competition begins. Competition begins. The sound of the competition officially starting just fell. However, the corners of Lucifer's mouth could not help but rise, and those crimson eyes looked like a beast that smelled blood. Let the beginning be your finale. Accompanied by a long and loud whistle. Behind Lucifer, a pair of wings that cover the sky and the sun grow out. The wings are covered with blood-colored scales. Under the sunlight, sparkling. At the same time, a sense of oppression that can still overwhelm the spirits of the abyss spreads in an instant. Demon God race. Feeling the rushing breath, Luo Sheng couldn't help saying. I didn't expect you to know about the demon clan. Not bad. My reincarnated race is one of the demon clan, the Sky Demon clan. BBFJ. Lu Safa showed a little surprise at first, and then laughed out loud. Demons, the supreme race in the abyss. And the heavenly demon clan he reincarnated in is also the top 10 demon god clan that can be ranked among the top 10 demon god clans. Among the abyssal creatures whose bloodline is suppressed and engraved into their blood. The difference between the demon god clan and other abyssal creatures is like that between a king and a commoner. In the face of the demon god clan, any abyss race that does not belong to the demon god clan, on the premise that the difference in level is not large, their blood and even their mind consciousness are completely in a state of being, absolutely suppressed. Lu Safa, who seemed to have seen Luo Sheng prostrate on the ground in his mind, watched all this with a grim smile. 1 second, 2 seconds, until tens of seconds passed. Lucifer's face gradually changed from frozen to ugly. His expression was livid. How is it possible? Logically speaking, it is impossible for other abyssal creatures to be suppressed by the blood of the demon god clan without any influence. Unless, you are also a demon. Lucifer shot his gloomy gaze at Luo Sheng. Luo Sheng chuckled, demon god clan. Do you want to take a closer look? Wow, the wings of the fallen angel behind him spread out suddenly. The darkness on the wings seems to gather all the darkness and misfortune in this world. Like a gorgeous flower bud fully blooming in the dark, the beauty is suffocating. Lu Safa looked at all this. The first emotion that comes to mind is fear, endless fear. It's like a person longing for life standing on the edge of a precipitous cliff, and an unparalleled sense of death crisis rushes to his face. In an instant, it enveloped his whole body, consciousness, and even the depths of his soul. Six-winged fallen angel. No, even if your reincarnation race is a 9-count fallen angel, it is impossible to have this kind of power. Lu Safa seemed to have forgotten to fight at this moment. He spoke incoherently. The burly and tall body of the demon was trembling visibly with the naked eye. It's too scary. Is this really the power that people can have? If you compare him to an ancient behemoth that stirs the wind and clouds. The feeling Luo Sheng gave him right now is like the will of the world that overwhelms everything in this continent. The thought of being absolutely irresistible was deeply imprinted in his mind. I was so intimidated just by showing my full power. Luo Sheng stood in midair, his deep magic pupils looked down on the trembling Lucifer. I just feel extremely ridiculous in my heart. Now it's my turn to speak. That's it. King's Landing. Luo Sheng raised his right arm slightly. The whole sky seems to be pressed on his body. Lu Safa's limbs instantly collapsed to the ground. I'm already second in the competitive rankings. I haven't matched you in so many games before. You? Just halfway through the intermittent voice, Lu Safa seemed to react. His pupils shrunk, and with his nearly dumb vocal cords, he trembled. You just, still won. The holy word is just about to be sent out. Lu Safa collapsed because the spirit in his mind couldn't bear the extreme pressure. Competition ends. Winner, holy. Please choose. Continue competitive match, teleport away. Continue. Luo Sheng is indifferent. He bowed his head, and the medical light fell on the body that turned into countless lights and dissipated. Compared to me, the blood of the race is stronger than me, and I can't control myself. Soon, in the next 3 games, Luo Sheng quickly resolved the opponent with absolute strength. The process took about 3 minutes just right. Congratulations on completing your 30-game winning streak. You have obtained the new title, Uncrowned King. A new title. Luo Sheng clicked on the details. Uncrowned King. Title level. Top level. Effect. 1. When you equip this title, you will be immune to all physical and magical attacks lower than your own level. 2. Equip this title. 3. Note. This title is not permanent. As long as the holder of the title loses once in the arena, the title will disappear. It turned out to be a top title. It's not permanent, but it's almost permanent to me. Luo Sheng smiled faintly. According to the annotation, as long as he is undefeated, this title will never disappear. This is no different from permanence. Chapter 121. Luo Sheng quickly equipped with this new title. Immune to all physical attacks or magic attacks lower than your own level. This effect ability is really buggy, and it is worthy of the top title. Luo Sheng took a closer look at the specific additional effects of the title, Uncrowned King. There are 10 effects in total, and the ability of each effect is not much weaker than the first one. Although there are 5 that cannot be used in the arena. But it didn't hurt him at all. After all, in the arena, he doesn't need to rely on the power boost zone of the title at all. After clicking away, Luo Sheng returned to his eternal castle from the arena in the blink of an eye. He opened the leaderboard. The second place, the Abyss of Heavenly Demon, is gone. Luo Sheng raised his eyebrows. It took less than a few minutes since he started to compete, and the second place changed hands so quickly. Wait, Heavenly Demon Abyss, could it be the reincarnation of that Heavenly Demon clan a few minutes ago? Luo Sheng seemed to have guessed something. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. No wonder the other party said something when they met me, and it took several hours to match me. Presumably because of the system's matching mechanism, he wanted to use this reincarnation of the Heavenly Demon race, who had rushed to the second place in the rankings in just a few days, to defeat him. It's a pity that the system's matching mechanism can't realize how powerful it is. Even if the top 10 reincarnators on the ranking list are listed together, there is absolutely no possibility of him being his opponent. He sat back on the throne. Come in. Lifting his head, his eyes fell on the closed door. The pitch-black door moved in response. Make a soft, crunch, sound. What came into view was a glamorous phantom. A soft hair cascades down to her waist. Under the tight armor, Lilith showed off her perfect figure with bumps and convexities. Lilith walked up to Luo Sheng with her long legs. Half kneeling down, the beautiful face as white as jade lowered her head deeply. Lilith Chesia, see my lord. That crisp and light soft voice came out from the vermilion lips. That's right. It's been upgraded to level 27 in such a short period of time, and the speed has increased very quickly. Luo Sheng praised. My lord is overrated. This is what Lilith should do. As Lilith said, she raised her head slightly. That's right. This time Lilith returned to the Eternal Castle. There is something she wants to report to you personally. Explain. Lilith raised her right hand and opened it. A huge amethyst transparent sphere appeared. Luo Sheng took a closer look. I saw an abyssal creature with a human face and a bird body imprisoned in the glass sphere. Let me out. Bold aliens, do you know who I am? My master is the 3 great generals in Chiuan territory. If you don't want to die, let me go. The man-faced demon bird let out a sharp roar, and its blood-red eyes were full of pride and anger. His master is second only to the Lord. His strength is comparable to many Abyss Lords, and he is also a famous figure in the entire continent of the Abyss. In his eyes, these outsiders who came here suddenly were basically the same kind of lowly existence as those abyssal races such as the pig-headed dark goblin. But now, these ants, whom he regards as the bottom of the abyss, dare to catch him. This is simply provoking the dignity of his Chiuan territory. It was also when the man-faced demon bird was about to continue roaring. On both sides of the ball wall that trapped him, 2 bolts of Zixia thunder suddenly shot out. Wow! Lightning flashed, and lightning instantly enveloped the whole body of the demon bird. The heart-piercing burning pain caused the demon bird to lie on the ground and let out a miserable howl. Ah! It hurts. Stop it. Stop it. With lightning and flint, the thunder turned the wings of the masked demon bird, and even the lower body into ashes. Only the head of a demon bird remained, still panting heavily. My lord's honorable name, how can such a despicable fool like you be able to talk about it? Lilith's beautiful eyes, which seemed to provoke people's hearts a second ago, became as cold as the cold light of the blade unsheathed. Then she turned her head again and said to Luo Sheng, My lord, Lilith got the news that a demon general from Chiuan territory is about to send an abyssal army to this area. This demon bird with human faces came here to scout the situation. Is it finally here? Luo Sheng was not overly surprised when he heard this, but only raised his eyebrows slightly. After destroying the 6 dark goblin kingdoms, he guessed that such a thing might happen. Ha, ha ha, you are already dead, my master. Dot has a mark on me. As long as you kill me, the great Chiuan army will quickly lock here and slaughter all living things here. Stupid aliens boundary, you, will do for you. Just what I want. The 4 characters fell, making the magic bird's pupils stunned. After reacting, there was only one thought in the magic bird's mind. That means the other party is really too rampant and overreaching. Before the magic bird opened its mouth to sneer. This guy is at your disposal. Luo Sheng continued. Follow orders. Lilith bowed her head. The demon bird was completely dumbfounded by Luo Sheng's cold words. He himself wanted to use this to blackmail the other party to save his own life, but he didn't expect that this guy didn't play cards according to his own routine. This outsider is crazy. Chiuan territory. In the middle of a lifeless place filled with gunpowder smoke. A city of bones stands erect. In the center of the city is a vast square made of white bones. The square was filled with abyssal creatures of different races. They prostrated themselves on the ground, kneeling towards a headless horseman sitting at the front of the square, as if they were on a pilgrimage. The headless horseman sits on a bone chair, with his hands naturally placed on both sides of the chair. Wow! A burst of dark green flame suddenly burst out from the neck of the tall armor. The flame is burning brightly, and it seems that it will never go out. I want to see which guy who is overconfident dares to kill my pet. A pair of gloomy eyes floated in the gloomy flames. Crack. 763. There was a muffled crunching sound of the armor turning. The headless horseman stood up slowly from his seat. Newcastle. Instantly, bursts of thunderous vibrations sounded from the square. Boom. A 2-headed ogre walked out of the vast abyssal race. The double-headed ogre is nearly 7 meters tall, with a fat and huge body, holding a giant axe and a meteor hammer in each hand. Newcastle is here. Sir Kex, please order. The ogre's 2 ferocious beast faces said in unison. I order you to lead the demon army to the Black Forest in the eastern outland. Slaughter all the creatures there. Don't let a single one go. Newcastle complies. Newcastle bowed his head. Although I don't know why Sir Kex let me go to such a remote place. But he just did what he did. But it's okay. I heard that there are the most outsiders in the outer domain. I have eaten such a creature now, but I have never tasted the taste of outsiders. Newcastle smiled bitterly in his heart. A day later. Outland. The scarlet light shone on this vast land of the abyss, dyeing everything into crimson blood soil. No, no, please. In the ruins of the broken territory. A half-orc reincarnated blushed and spoke intermittently. Those terrified eyes fell on the huge monster with one hand pinching its own neck. Let you go. Newcastle's 2 heads looked at each other and smiled. That's right. Only, as long as you can, let me live, I can tell you the whereabouts of other outsiders. PFF'd. The left head opened its mouth wide, and suddenly ate the opponent's head in one gulp. The picture can be described as appalling. Hey, why are you eating alone? Didn't you agree that the head belongs to me and the body belongs to you? Seeing the speed of the left head so fast, the right head couldn't help but open its bloody mouth, and said dissatisfied. What's the hurry, you can eat the heads of the outsiders in a while. The left head smiled and licked the remaining blood on his mouth. I have to say that the taste of these outsiders is indeed a bit different from that of ordinary creatures. The taste is very novel, especially the soul power. Let's go. You're making my heart itch. What's the rush? I devoured the memory of the outsider. There are quite a few outsider territories around here. I'll let you eat as much as you want. Abyss Channel. On the east side of Outland, the reincarnators in the area near the Black Forest should be careful. An abyssal army from Chiuan territory is approaching here. Chiuan territory. Is it the territory of the Chiuan lord in the inner domain? No, really, how could a monster of that level suddenly send troops to a barren land like Outland? After several months of fumbling, many reincarnated people know a lot about the specific situation of this continent of the abyss. They know that the ones who really dominate the inner domain are not the Abyss kingdoms that seem to be huge, but the Abyss lords who have surrendered countless Abyss creatures. And the current Chiuan lord, among the many lords on the first layer of the Abyss, can be regarded as top-notch in strength. Now there are dozens of reincarnators who have lost contact, and I am afraid they are here to deal with us. My territory is in the Gas Mountains not far from the Black Forest. Can I still go now? Yes, I should be able to walk away. Fortress of Eternity. Luo Sheng looked calm, looking at the messages in the Abyss channel. The speed is much faster than I expected, but it's almost the same. After closing the channel, Viliva pays homage to the Supreme Lord of the Abyss. A golden light flickered. Viliva appeared in the temple. The dark halo of the four fields fell on the golden dragon law robe, reflecting the golden brilliance. Viliva knelt down slowly. Since the destruction of the 6 dark goblin kingdoms, Viliva, like Lilith, wandered around trying to improve her level. Now his level has been raised to level 24, only 3 levels away from Lilith. Say it. According to the servant's investigation, the army that came this time belongs to one of the 3 great demon generals in Chiuan territory, the Ogre clan under the command of Fa Rox. The leader of the army is the new general of the Ogre clan, Newcastle, whose level has reached level 35. The corner of his mouth slightly hooked. How many people are there in general? About 10,000, and the level is not low, at least level 12. I see. Go on, follow the original plan. The corners of Luo Sheng's mouth curled up. With such a large amount of experience, he should be able to raise himself a level or 2 in one go. Half an hour 5.2 passed. This seems to be the Black Forest that Mr. Kess mentioned. Newcastle raised his head and looked at the dark forest. Has the breath of outsiders. 1 inch. Tongue stuck out of the right mouth and licked. The dozens of outsiders along the way just now were not enough for him to satisfy his appetite. Interesting. I feel that there is a very powerful outsider territory behind that Black Forest. This power far exceeds all the outsiders he has encountered along the way. Just telling you that, I want to eat him even more. The blue animal face showed a cruel smile. Clan people, kill me. Bring supreme honor to the Ogre clan and the Great Lord. Newcastle raised his arms high, waved the giant soldiers, and roared. The demon-eating army was menacing, and it was like a tidal wave, rushing towards the Black Forest. At the same time, Black Forest, Viliva stands on an ornate pentagram altar. He turned around slowly. Golden flames burned in the hollow skull eyes. Stupid intruder, the territory of the Lord of the Abyss, and you can step into it. Let's return to this endless purgatory. Viliva raised his arms high, and the magic wand in his left hand released a brilliant colorful halo at this moment. Clatter. On the altar under the feet, the pentagram overflowed with bright blood. The radiance of blood dyed everything around it into a forest of blood. Everywhere in the Black Forest, rows of necromancers are suspended in the air. Feeling the huge magic power released from the center of the forest, and seeing the bloody light that seemed to rush into the sky. Master Saint Mage has already started. It's time. All the necromancers raised their staffs and chanted low abyss spells. Luo Sheng had arranged for them for a long time, and now everything was ready, just waiting for this perfect opportunity to catch a turtle in the urn. What's going on? Why did the ground suddenly start shaking? This vibration is getting more and more intense. The army of cannibals rushing into the Black Forest suddenly stopped their charge, and they looked left and right. The ground beneath his feet shook violently. Clatter. The thousands of Black Forest standing on the ground were also shaking and rustling. There are enemies. An ogre yelled loudly. I could only see undead creatures climbing out of the cracks in the ground that had split open. In just a few breaths, nearly tens of thousands of undead creatures surrounded the ogres. It's just a group of low-level undead creatures that don't even have a body. No matter how many there are, there is nothing to fear. Destroy them. Accompanied by a high-pitched roar, a group of ogres rushed towards the undead creatures that surrounded them. Boom! Armored ogre warriors wield giant knives in their hands. With one strike, hundreds of undead creatures that are directly close to you will be crushed together. The average level of every ogre warrior present is much higher than that of every undead creature, so it only took less than a minute for the battle to break out. The balance of the situation is rapidly approaching the ogres. It seems that these undead creatures were planted by the outsider in advance. But he wouldn't naively think that relying on this kind of undead spell, which is not even as good as ants, can destroy my invincible demon army. Newcastle, who was standing in the middle of the army, laughed loudly. He couldn't wait to tear that outsider to pieces. After all, being able to summon so many undead creatures is not a little bit better than those outsiders I met before. I don't know what the taste of this outsider will be. Said on the right, the piercing mouth couldn't help showing the saliva of desire. Time passed little by little. The gap between the two sides is becoming more and more obvious. The ogre army is worthy of being one of the strongest armies under French rocks. So far in the battle, there have been no casualties at all, at most some flesh injuries. On the other hand, look at the large number of undead creatures summoned from one side. At this moment, there are no more than 1 out of 10. Call me. Destroy all the ants that stop my great ogre clan. Newcastle steps forward with both feet. An orange battle ring emerged from under the feet, and expanded rapidly, covering all the ogre warriors. The ogre warrior, illuminated by the brilliance of the battle ring, instantly increased his aura several times, and endowed him with a bloodthirsty effect. Fight for the Lord. Kill, seeing that the few remaining undead creatures will also be crushed to death. The earth, which had just calmed down and trembled not long ago, trembled everywhere. This shock wave is obviously more violent than the previous few minutes. Standing in the center of the shock wave, I just feel that the whole world in front of me is imitating. This sudden change made the ogre, who had just rushed up a few meters, give up moving forward, and stood still, trying hard to stabilize himself. Want to play this trick again? Newcastle sneered, raised his giant axe with his right arm, and slammed the end of the axe to the ground, the power of the earth. Boom! In an instant, the 10,000-meter black wood around Newcastle was destroyed. The terrifying power made the huge black forest tremble. Gusts of wind and turbulence were released at the moment when the tail of the giant axe hit it. With one's own strength, the land of the Black Forest will be suppressed. You can see the strength of Newcastle. Ridiculous outsider, do you know that some of your plans are vulnerable to absolute power? But just after Newcastle smiled and said this sentence, the earth that was suppressed by him was shaking again. That is, the left head, which has the most sensitive perception of magic power, quickly turned around and looked backward. I saw 5 majestic towering rock pillars rising from the outskirts of the Black Forest. 5 rock pillars form a pentagram array, and each of the pillar tips emits a black light. The 5 lights merged into one, turning into a shady curtain that enveloped the entire Black Forest. Enchantment. Seeing this in Newcastle's heart, he couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. Then, he shook his head again. Grinning and roaring, the mere barrier also wants to trap me, Newcamore, the strongest ogre in history. Ridiculous. Hell flame attachment. The meteor hammer in his hand was instantly covered with a layer of dark purple abyssal flames. The flames emit scalding heat waves that seem to be able to melt and evaporate the surrounding air. Wow, the meteor hammer was thrown by it, the speed was as fast as thunder. Bang! The meteor hammer landed on the black barrier, splashing a burst of intense sparks and a thunderous muffled sound. But as the saying goes, the thunder is heavy and the rain is small. The meteor hammer might seem ferocious, but it couldn't break through even a single trace of the barrier. Can't break it. Newcastle's terrible beast froze suddenly. With all my strength, I couldn't break a magic barrier. This kind of thing. While staring blankly, there was a sudden sound of piercing through the air beside the ear. Look up to the sky. I saw that a stream of frost pierced the sky and was falling towards me quickly. This power is not right. Newcastle looked gloomy. No matter what he said, he had already reached the 35th level, so he was extremely sensitive to the destructive power contained in this streamer. Even if it is yourself, if you are defenseless, received this blow, but also suffered a lot of trauma. And the reason why he showed such an expression was naturally because of the picture in front of him, which made him surprised by the means of this outsider. First, he summoned a barrier that he couldn't shake even with a full blow. Now release this extremely powerful attack again. The level of this outsider obviously does not belong to the same level as the ant-like alien bugs he encountered before. It's kind of interesting. It seems that Master Kess sent me here, so I don't have any intentions to fall into it. Newcastle held up 2 weapons on his arms. The deep wind breaks the darkness. The tyrannical magic power was poured into the weapon by Newcastle. Drink. Accompanied by a loud roar. Newcastle jumped over 100 meters. The huge and burly body seemed to be transformed into a cannonball and shot out. Looking at the streamer that was so close at hand, he waved his hands and slashed back. Boom! A burst of dazzling blue lights and loud noises aroused at the same time. But that's all. When the dazzling dizziness from the splash gradually dissipated, he stayed on the spot. Unscathed, Newcastle suspended quietly in the air. The left and right heads raised their heads and laughed loudly, saying in unison, "If this is your last hole card, then that's the end of it. When he breaks through the barrier above, the time for that outsider's death will arrive." Newcastle used magic power to condense between his feet, so that he could travel in the sky without relying on any external objects. He rushed towards the magic barrier, preparing to destroy it with his most powerful moves in one go. Newcastle stopped suddenly, and the cause of the stagnation. It was because he sensed several strands of magic power suddenly appearing from the right side. At this moment, these magic powers are rushing towards their own position at a rapid speed. He looked back. The cloudy dark sky in the distance. A stream of frost streams consistent with the previous ones is coming at a speed like thunder and lightning. Clatter. The picture is magnificent, like a meteor shower. So much. Newcastle's expression changed drastically. It's okay if the number of such attacks is only a few dozen, but the current scale. There are hundreds if not thousands. Although his level is high, the magic power in his body is limited after all. So many attacks at once, no matter how rough and thick he is, he can't bear it. What the hell is going on with this outsider, that he is able to perform such a large-scale magical attack? His heart was greatly shocked. After all, he has never paid attention to the special existence of outsiders. Although they have the special ability to quickly upgrade by killing the number of monsters, it is also a long process. I don't know how long it will take for their level to be raised to the same level as his. So in Newcastle's view, these outsiders who came to the abyss are like bugs, they can be trampled on at will. But the current situation has caused him to have a huge change in his weak impression of outsiders. The dark vortex sleeping in the vortex of the abyss. I, Newcamor Kasat, hereby request the protection of the Mother Goddess of the Abyss. In front of Newcastle, a palm-sized dark cross appeared. Along with the chanting of the abyss spell, the cross released a dark magic light. These magic lights are like black holes that can devour all matter in the world, distorting the surrounding space. Until a black vortex appeared in front of the cross. 1. There were bursts of ethereal and strange ravings coming out of the vortex. The ravings seemed to be laughing but not laughing, accompanied by a hint of mournful crying. In short, the sound seemed to be gathered together by thousands of emotions. It is as if an ancient unknown god is spreading his supreme consciousness. At the moment when the attacks released from countless Tongyu towers fell. Like the end of an abyss, a beam of dazzling purple light flew out of the bottomless vortex. The purple light went up head-on, and immediately burst open. I see. An incomparably majestic figure appeared above the black forest. Zying as a female body with two pairs of wings on the back. A pair of white, a pair of black. The mother goddess made a prayer gesture with her hands. Closing square bracket. At #A%, the black lips parted slightly, and a burst of incomprehensible ravings came out from them. Wow! The streaks of meteor lights that are close at hand are intended to split into countless points of light and disperse. In just a split second, all meteors are gone, and after blocking these attacks, the stalwart posture of the mother goddess gradually became transparent, until it turned into nothingness. Goddess is above. Fortunately, I got this treasure with a trace of the power of goddess from the ruins, otherwise it would be terrible at this moment. Seeing that the crisis was resolved, Newcastle couldn't help but let out a soft breath. He looked down at the cross in front of him. It's a pity that this treasure can only be used twice. And this is the second time. Outsider, I must take your soul out, and be burned by the eternal fire of the abyss. There was an angry growl in his heart. He raised his head and looked at the enchantment that trapped him above. It's unexpected. I didn't expect you to have the treasure that summons a trace of the demon god's will. However, even if those incomparably powerful demon gods come in person today, they will not be able to save your lives. Newcastle turned towards the direction of the sound source. In the void thousands of meters behind him, the space trembled and rippled. The first thing that stepped into his eyes was a golden ornate robe. The robe is wide, as if it is composed of thousands of gold threads, exquisite and gorgeous. Even if there is no light, it can overflow with dazzling golden light. The Longfa robe is like a rising sun, surrounded by thousands of stars. Epic. A few seconds after seeing the robe, Newcastl's pupils constricted. This is epic. Even the Lord only owns one piece. Unexpectedly, he could see it in such a remote abyss outside the domain. Then Newcastle's gaze slowly shifted from the robe to the owner. There is no doubt that the visitor is Veliva, the undead holy mage. The golden skeleton is like a cast of gold, shining brightly. The powerful aura of high-ranking undead permeated the surrounding air. Newcastle's heart throbbed. High-ranking undead, don't these abyssal creatures only appear in the middle and upper levels of the abyss? How could they appear in places like the first floor of the abyss? He doesn't like undead creatures on the first floor of the abyss at all. That's because the bloodlines of the undead spirits that exist here are too weak. It is completely two species from the undead who have stepped into a high rank. You must know that the former has a place even in the top layer of the chaotic abyss. Although it can't be compared with those demon gods, it is second only to them. At the same time that Newcastle was shocked by the powerful aura permeating Veliva, he suddenly smelled a very familiar breath. Outsiders. Newcastle blurted out subconsciously. Immediately, both of his faces showed solemn expressions, and he said in a low voice, "Are you from another world?" Outsider. When Veliva heard this sentence, the hollow golden flame jumped slightly. There seemed to be a hint of ridicule and contempt in the flames. The supreme master of the abyss, the land of the abyss that is about to return. Whether it's an outsider or a demon god of the old age, you should respect the supreme lord of the abyss. There was a hint of excitement in the voice, and Veliva slowly raised his arms as he spoke. The head looks up. It seems to have seen the grand sight of the lord of the abyss coming and regaining control of the entire abyss. It is rumored that the abyssal creatures summoned by outsiders will lose their consciousness of autonomy, which seems to be true. I didn't expect that the undead who have always claimed to be the most intelligent in the abyss are nothing more than this. Newcastle sneered. In his opinion, Veliva's consciousness has been completely manipulated, and he has begun to speak nonsense. Control the entire abyss. This kind of thing can't even be done by any of the top 10 supreme demon gods, just an outsider. It's really beyond self-control. Being able to summon high-ranking undead as slaves, your ability as a thinker really shocked me. It's a pity that the level of the undead you summoned is only level 27. And he is level 35. There is a difference of 8 levels between the two sides. Although there is a huge impact of blood. But there is still a huge gap in the level gap between the two, which cannot be made up by relying on blood alone. Be the first to strike first. At this moment, Newcastle's fat body exploded at an extremely astonishing speed. What about high-ranking undead? Under the huge level gap, you are just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered by me at any time. He blinked and arrived in front of Veliva, and swung the giant axe and meteor hammer out at the same time. Bang! The muffled heavy ringing continued. The flames splashed in all directions, and the attacks of the axe and the meteor hammer were all blocked by a golden light barrier formed outside the magic robe vibe. It seems that you don't know anything about the power of epic treasures. Veliva raised his head slightly. His eyes, which contained a hint of a smile, looked at the two orc faces of the other party who were a little stunned and shocked. The defensive spells of the dragon magic robe can ignore the physical and magical attacks of any abyssal creatures below level 40. In other words, Newcastl's attack alone cannot break the defense of the dragon law robe at all. Dare to violate the supreme holy land of the Lord of the Abyss, your sins, you should pay with your life. The staff in hand appeared. Veliva noticed the enchantment above his head. Suddenly, an abyssal circle with a width of several thousand meters appeared. There are black cross swords floating around the circle, and the ancient abyss mantras are carved all over the circle. Could this be epic abyss magic? Newcastle seemed to see something, and turned pale with shock. He almost forgot. The reason why high-ranking undead are powerful is that apart from the incomparably profound knowledge of the abyss in their minds, the most important thing is that among the high-level undead masters, There are many extremely powerful and ancient epic level or even legendary level abyssal curses among the undead spirits. Because of the negligence of the rank, he actually forgot such an important point. He lowered his head and looked at the black cross on his right arm, and said uglily, "The number of times for the mother goddess frame has been used up. Now he has only two choices. One is to escape, the other is to block. It took me a lot of magic power to deal with those streamers and break the barrier before. Need to take a break. The moment when a decision is made in the heart." Newcastle looked down at an ogre below. Transfer method. In a blink, Valiva noticed that Nukamor's figure under the magic circle changed suddenly, turning into another ogre. The original Newcastle appeared in the place of the previous ogre in an instant. Obviously, Newcastle uses a space spell that can exchange the positions of the two. Do you think you can escape the pursuit of Satan's formation? At all this, Valiva let out a hoarse laugh mockingly. Countless black cross lightsabers fell from the magic circle. These black cross lightsabers, which seemed to symbolize the death will of the abyss, gathered together and turned into a stream of swords, rushing out passionately. Like an endless river of hell and sticks hanging down from the sky. Ah, the ogre didn't even have a chance to react, and was directly turned into powder by these black cross lightsabers. The black cross sword that turned into the sticks condensed a strong sense of killing, and plundered towards Newcastle. Seeing that there was no way out, Newcastle had no choice but to fight. The unwilling souls on the dark land, listen to my will, and turn into a dark wall against everything. Dark demon souls. The two ferocious beast heads opened their mouths at the same time, and quickly chanted a series of ancient ogre spells. The moment the spell was chanted, wow, on the surface of Newcastle's huge body, there were terrifying and hideous faces. Among them are creatures such as outsiders, orcs, and goblins. These faces seem to be alive, and their mouths are slightly open, as if they are crying. The talent of the ogre family. The flames in Valiva's eyes were slowly burning. Every abyssal creature has its own racial talent. And the scene at the moment stems from the racial talent of the ogre family. Soul Eater. Regardless of any abyssal creature, as long as the ogre can devour its soul, it will gain 1% of the former's magic power and power. In other words, the more you devour, the stronger your strength will be. Those densely packed faces floating on Newcastle's body are precisely the creatures of the abyss that he once devoured. Not only were their powers taken away by ogres, but their souls were also imprisoned in their bodies by eternal life, unable to be freed. I don't want to do this, but you want to die, so I, Newcastle, have no choice but to fulfill your wish. Newcastle grinned grimly with both heads, speaking in unison. The expressions of the faces covered with limbs gradually became distorted. Wisps of black mist floated from their mouths. These are the souls confined in Newcastle's body. They are all in the hands of Newcastle. Even if the soul itself is extremely resistant to Newcastle, there is nothing to do. Destroy, destroy, let the power of despair swallow everything here. Thousands of wisps of black mist swim like schools of fish, converging together. This grand picture seems to engulf the sky above this black forest. It can be seen that the number of abyssal creatures swallowed by Newcastle over so many years is huge. Gradually, all the souls coalesced into a huge, penetrating skull. The skull covered the sky, and the endless air of death and resentment lingered around. It headed forward and collided with the flow of black cross swords from Satan's formation. The fierce wind and waves swept across the forests and the land of the Black Forest. The powerful magic power has been soaring between the collision points. A high-level undead is indeed powerful, but the undead I have accumulated for so many years cannot be counteracted by you with just an epic-level spell. Newcastle laughed wildly. Just watching, the power of the skull gradually overwhelmed the power of the cross-sword group. Although the huge level difference between them is made up for by epic-level spells and treasures. But the dead souls I have accumulated for so many years, the combined strength is already approaching the 40th level. This is not something that can be blocked by just relying on an epic-level spell. Boom! Seeing that the power of the skull will completely overwhelm the power of Satan's formation. The smile on Newcastle's face became more ferocious. It seems that this is all your strength. Since there is only so much, then sink into the bottom of the eternal abyss and repent. Valiva raised his right arm slightly. A purple sapphire silver ring worn on the middle finger suddenly burst into a bright purple halo. Wow! The satanic formation, which originally only covered a kilometer above, expanded its range again. Directly increased by several kilometers. At the same time, more black cross swords fell from the formation. Join the fray. The sword group, which was originally at a disadvantage, suddenly rose to power. It actually surpassed the cursed air of the skull in one breath. Newcastle, who was completely stunned by this sudden scene, could only watch helplessly. The skulls were shattered under the attack of these black cross lightsabers. It wasn't until this sword flow was close at hand that Newcastle recovered from the sudden reversal of the situation. He raised his head and noticed the amethyst ring on Viliva's middle finger with a halo. He couldn't help exclaiming, "Epic!" No matter how he thought about it, he never thought that Viliva actually possessed 3 epic treasures at the same time. PFF. The ferocious group of swords is like a stormy wave, like the water of the Yellow River that is rushing endlessly. Ah! Newcastle howled. That piece of rare grade armor was torn apart bit by bit under the continuous washing of these cross swords, until it was torn apart. How is it possible? As the most powerful fighter of Lord France rocks, I would die in this kind of. Desperate eyes looked at Viliva in the sky. There seemed to be 100,000 whys in my mind. Lord Newcastle, we will help you. Suddenly, bursts of passionate roars came from behind. I only saw the black ogre marching towards Newcastle. And this scene fell in Viliva's eyes, as if he was looking for a dead end. Come on, great warriors of the old empire, destroy these despicable people who stepped into the Holy Land. Viliva opened his hands wide, and the wand in front of him was spinning rapidly. From the surface of a spar on the top, there is only a palm-sized abyss circle emerging from the sun zodiac. Boom! The ground in the black forest trembled violently, and in the next moment, tombstones rose from the surface. These tombstones are engraved with abyssal runes representing curses. Destroy. Destroy all enemies of our Lord. Kill a. Countless screams. Among the tens of thousands of tombstones, corpse knights seem to climb out from the end of death. The scene is spectacular. The dead knights blew their charging horns and rushed towards the ogres. Although the overall level of the dead knight is lower than that of the ogre. But these dead knights all have extremely abnormal resilience and painlessness, not to mention that the overall number H is several times higher than that of ogres. How can these ghosts not be hacked to death? Watch out behind. Ah! This army, which once claimed to be invincible in Chiuan territory, fell into a disadvantage in less than a minute. Finally, after half an hour of fighting, the result ended with the complete annihilation of Newcastle's army of ogres. Now that the main thing has been settled, it's time to settle the secondary things. Viliva looked down at the ground with broken limbs and broken arms and rivers of blood. He raised his right palm. In the golden bone palm, the soul bound by layers of soul locks on the sun adornment is making a small roar. A great warrior does not betray his loyal master. You won't get any news you want. The appearance of the soul is Newcastle, the leader of the ogre army v. It's not up to you to decide. Viliva sneered, and took Newcastle's soul back into his palm. Fortress of Eternity. Your hero level unit. Viliva Taste killed a level 8 ogre berserker and gained 200 experience points. Your hero unit. Viliva Taste killed a level 8 ogre berserker and gained 200 experience points. Your hero level unit. Viliva Taste killed a level 7 ogre shield soldier and gained 150 experience points. Your hero unit. Viliva Taste killed a level 35 two-headed ogre leader and gained 4,500 experience points. Congratulations on your upgrade to level 36. Luo Sheng flicked the 003 board on the killing surface, and said with a smile, it seems that Viliva has already solved it. After putting away the panel, he looked around at the towering towers that looked like pyramids. The attack power of Tonghan Tower did not disappoint him. The power of dozens of soul towers gathered together just now, even the leader of the ogre who has reached level 35 is hard to stop. If I build enough Tongyu towers, it may not be impossible to deal with 40th level abyssal creatures. But it's a pity that the materials he has now are not enough to support him to build so many soul towers. It's still 14 levels away, and the bloodline can be further promoted. Luo Sheng opened his personal panel. Looking at the huge amount of experience points that he was away from the next level, he couldn't help but whispered, if it weren't for my race not being a special level, I'm afraid my level would have reached 40 or 50 by now. Recently he discovered an interesting thing. That's the required experience for his own level, compared to other reincarnators. In the case of the same level, the experience required for the next level is twice as much. For example, you need 50 points from the first level to the second level, while other reincarnators only need 25 points to reach the second level. This is true for every level. No wonder he was a little puzzled before, why the levels of those reincarnated jumped so fast. It turned out that the experience points I needed were twice as much as that of them. But despite getting this news, Luo Sheng was only slightly surprised. For myself, under the blessing of supreme favor, this gap can be completely ignored. The thing that needs to be paid attention to now is to see the next move of the Abyss Lord. Now that the ogre army scent has been wiped out, the former will definitely make a big move. Now I just need to wait for the opponent to make the first move. Return to the Fortress of Eternity. Your most respected servant, Viliva, sees the Supreme Lord. Viliva, who was surrounded by golden light all over his body, knelt down respectfully. Good job. Luo Sheng took a sip of the glass of wine in his right hand, and his wrist moved slightly. Magic pupils as gorgeous as purple Roland, overlooking Viliva below. It is the greatest honor for Wiliwa to receive your appreciation. Viliva was terrified. The body that was half kneeling down directly prostrated itself on the ground. Is there a problem? Luo Sheng asked. Viliva nodded slightly. He replied, My lord, please see. Open your palms, and 3 strands of souls float out. And this ray of soul is none other than Newcastle, who was arrogant and vigorous just a few minutes ago. The moment Newcastle saw Luo Sheng, his muddy eyes immediately cleared up a bit. The 2 heads shouted in unison, Despicable outsider. Do you know that you are already provoking Ziyuan's territory? Seeing that Luo Sheng didn't say a word, Newcastle continued to drink. Outsider, your arrogance and arrogance will soon be turned into dust at the feet of Lord Chiuan. The soul of the last ant who dared to say this to me was placed in the endless magic fire to be burned forever. Luo Sheng rested his chin on his left hand and smiled slightly. HMPH. My lord's strength is. Also just snorted coldly in Newcastle. Under his sight, Luo Sheng's originally fair and delicate face suddenly became invisible. In his eyes, Luo Sheng's slender figure suddenly became infinitely taller. Immediately afterwards, the terrifying coercion coming from the crouching nose came like a stormy sea. Newcastle only felt that his remaining soul power was being torn apart bit by bit. It was like 1,000 cuts, with countless thorns piercing his heart and lungs. The excruciating pain made him, a battle-hardened warrior, howl uncontrollably. This oppressive feeling. How is it possible? Newcastle rolled his eyes. This oppressive force, even if he faced the French Lord Rocks. No, even the Lord has never experienced it. The alien in front of him seemed to have turned into a collection of the will of the entire abyss in an instant. In front of him, he was so insignificant that he was not even as good as a speck of dust. He couldn't believe it in his heart, there is such a terrifying outsider in this abyss. It's like a demon god descending. 1 second before Newcastle's consciousness was about to completely collapse under the pressure. Luo Sheng put away this coercion. Looking at the dying remnant soul, he was very satisfied in his heart. This additional effect from the Eternal Fort is really useful, the pretend effect is awesome. With the great power of the Lord of the Abyss, as long as he is in the Fort of Eternity, he will be absolutely invincible against any abyssal creature below level 50. This is why Newcastle was so terrified just now. In his eyes, Luo Sheng's level clearly surpassed his incomparably powerful Lord, Chiuan Lord. With a thought, Newcastle, already in a fainted state, flew in front of him. There is an abyss restriction on the soul, it seems to be to prevent the memory from being taken away. Luo Sheng showed a trace of disdain. But in the invincible state of the Eternal Fort, this restriction is obviously not a problem. In a short while, Luo Sheng got the information he wanted from Newcastle's memory. This strand of soul is still useful to you. He looks up. Viliva nodded. Yes, my lord. The servant is preparing to transform the Black Forest into a cemetery for the undead, and needs a powerful soul as the core of the formation. W. Luo Sheng raised his hand, and his soul flew back to Viliva. After Viliva left, Luo Sheng opened the exchange. Put all the items you got in this wave on it. As always. The moment Luo Sheng's item was put into the exchange, soon it caused a huge sensation on the Wanji channel and even other channels. After all, the number of items and materials that Luo Sheng puts on the shelves each time is not only ridiculously large, but also of a very high level. Today's reincarnators are no longer the fledglings at the beginning. Everyone can make their own judgments if they can survive to this point. They all know that the items and materials on the shelves of Luo Sheng are the key items for them to improve their strength now and in the future. Holy shit, with so many rare materials, where did the Holy Heaven biography go? Fatty's continent. My darling, the heart of an adult blood-devouring sword tiger, rare level 5, an adult blood-devouring sword tiger is at least level 30, the holy boss can kill even this kind of abyssal creature. The reality is too magical. I just managed to kill a level 7 anaconda today, and someone has already been able to easily kill a level 30 monster. Abyss. Who is this saint? As the president of the Evernight Alliance, Lin Yi sat on a chair with ugly eyes. He stared at the exchange panel in front of him. The rare item materials in the top row are all dropped from abyssal creatures of level 30 or more. Being able to obtain these also indirectly proves that the level of the monster is at least 3000. Now the competitive rankings are used as a place to test the true strength of all reincarnated people. Those who can occupy a place in the 100 are considered the top of the first echelon. And his current ranking is not low, at 2500. But when he thought that he was more than 10 levels away from the number 1, holy. So Lin Yi couldn't let go of it. This gap is really too big, as if it is a world of difference, it makes him feel desperate. And if this happened a few months before his reincarnation, he would never show such an expression. I feel that as long as I work hard, I will have the opportunity to catch up with the other party. But all these ridiculous fantasies were completely shattered when the six-party Dark Goblin Kingdom was destroyed. In his opinion, with his current strength, the Dark Goblin Kingdom, which could not resist even if he mobilized all the alliances, was easily destroyed. At that moment, his three views were completely subverted. Thinking of this, Lin Yi's face became gloomy. That idiot even wants me to deal with that monster. Does he think I'm a fool? Half a month ago, A Conquera, the president of Fatis Continental Gold Alliance, contacted him, expressing that he wanted to join forces with him in the future against A Street. And he agreed on the surface, but actually sneered inwardly. Teaming up with you. Your current ranking in the arena is the same as mine. I dare not say such a thing. Where do you have the confidence to say such nonsense? With a few taunts in his heart, Lin Yi opened the alliance panel. Emits a message internally. In the future, without my consent, no member may trade or even cooperate with members of the Gold Alliance without permission, and those who violate it will bear the consequences. The Golden Alliance is going to die, and Lin Yi will not accompany him. Inside the bone-capped magic city. Snort. There was a loud snort suddenly. The accompanying gusts of fierce wind caused dozens of wisps of will-o'-the-wisps hanging on the walls of the castle to sway continuously. It seems that it will go out at any time. I really didn't expect that in such a remote area, someone could kill Newcastle. La Rock's voice is extremely hoarse, as if issued from the depths of a canyon. It's been a long time since anyone dared to challenge the dignity of Chiuan's territory. I want to see who it is. He was a little curious. Now all the Abyss Lords on the first floor of the Abyss, except for their own lords, are fighting to the death for the treasure of the demon god. There is no motive at all to intentionally trouble him in Chiuan's territory. But apart from these Abyss Lords, in this huge layer of the Abyss, there is no race kingdom that dares to be an enemy of an Abyss Lord. Just as he was thinking like this, an idea popped up in his mind. After pondering for a moment, he said, "Bring those bugs up." The deafening magic sound spread throughout the city of bones. Soon, a beetle beast walking upright, with 6 legs and arms holding 4 reincarnations, slowly stepped into this place. The limbs of the 4 reincarnators were bound with thick chains. Their expressions are different, but they can all see the intense fear that is almost overflowing on their faces. Bang! 4 people were thrown to the ground. The beetle slowly knelt down. "My lord, I have brought you here." The voice just fell. One of the reincarnated beings who was bound to move, said in horror, "Lord of Wu, I can do anything for you. Please." PFF'd. The reincarnated person who spoke first did not wait for the remaining 3 people to respond. The whole body burst open suddenly, turning into a puddle of flesh and blood. This scene frightened the others, and their hairs stood on end. I haven't opened my mouth yet, do you summer insects have a share? Law Rocks overlooked. Next, I will ask, you just need to answer truthfully. If the answer is good, I may spare your life. The 3 reincarnated trembled so much that they only dared to nod their heads, not daring to make a sound. I am afraid that if I am not careful, I will follow in the footsteps of the former. Do you know who is the murderer who destroyed the 6 dark goblin kingdoms not far away? The sound just fell. The other 2 were startled. One of them reacted quickly, and said, report to your lord, I know who the murderer who destroyed the 6 dark goblin kingdoms is. Under the sign of French rocks. The man continued. The one who destroyed the 6 dark goblin kingdoms was a guy named Holy, among our reincarnations. Go on. The reincarnator seemed to see the hope of living, and quickly said, this saint is the most powerful reincarnator in our entire abyss. F.A. Rocks immediately became interested when he heard the word, strongest. How strong is this bug? His face suddenly froze when asked by Far Rocks. The existence of Shenglong, who sees the beginning and the end of the Holy Dragon, is difficult to contact even the presidents of the major alliances of the Abyss, let alone a small person like him. He couldn't find a single hair. The reason why he said it clearly and logically is naturally because it was rumored that the 6 dark goblin kingdoms were destroyed by the Holy before, but he actually didn't know what the actual situation was. Therefore, he has absolutely no idea about the specific strength of the saint. And to say this, naturally, is to be able to save his own life. Also, when the former was stunned and didn't know how to answer. The reincarnation on the right also saw this great opportunity. He nodded at Far Rocks. Explain. The person who got the approval was relieved, and beads of sweat the size of soybeans dripped to the ground on his pale cheeks. If he told others everything, his own life would definitely be lost. Your Majesty, please listen to me carefully. The reincarnation named Sheng is not weak, at least level 30. Oh, Megan class. F.A. Rock's expression froze, and even his tone became completely different. After all, in his opinion, almost none of these aliens in the Abyss are above level 20. But now someone told him that the level of the outsider not only exceeds this level, but even crosses the whole level. This naturally surprised him, but the Rocks didn't directly take the full message of that statement. After all, it has been less than a few months since these outsiders descended to the first level of the Abyss. In just a few months, climbing from the first level to the 30th level or even higher, this speed is impossible even for the Demon God clan. And how did you know his strength level? Far Rocks questioned. The eyes burning in the raging fire stared coldly at the thing that looked like a mayfly in the eyes. He is a mutation of the undead of the bone dragon beast, so many perceptions of the soul even surpass the Lord. And if the outsider in front of him shows any signs of daring to deceive him, he will soon meet his end. Feeling the cold light as sharp as a blade. Gulu, the reincarnated, swallowed deeply. Then he tremblingly told all the reasons he knew. He previously listed many items in the trading place of us reincarnators, among them. Spoke for about a minute. After he finished speaking, he was sweating profusely, only feeling that he was standing on the edge of the scythe of death. It could be dead in the next second. F.A. Rocks looked at the other party quietly, and found that his soul did not intend to lie. So he turned his attention to the remaining outsider who hadn't spoken yet. But the orc reincarnated was in a trance, as if frightened by the terrifying and suffocating coercion of F.A. Rocks. After a few breaths, F.A. Rocks' eyes fell. The somewhat blurred eyes gradually regained their clarity. But he just raised his head. I only felt a sudden pain like flesh and blood peeling off from my body. Ah, howling in pain. The other 2 reincarnations watched helplessly as the souls of each other were forcibly extracted by French Rocks. If you don't want to live, then go die. F.A. Rocks grabbed the flying soul and squeezed it to explode. Then F.A. Rocks stood up. Looking at the 2 people who were lying on the ground and trembling violently, he grinned and said, I still keep my promise. Since you 2 bugs can speak out, I will spare your life. This sneer sounded like a devil whispering, but at this moment, it sounded like the sound of heaven in the ears of the 2 of them. Because they can survive. One quarter who finally survived. One person gasped heavily, not knowing whether it was fear or joy. Tears that were visible to the naked eye surfaced from the corners of their eyes. But, in a while, you will go to a place with me. I want to meet this bug myself for a while. La Roque's sudden voice. The hearts of the two who had just been relieved suddenly became extremely tense, as if hundreds of mountains fell together. They finally understood that they had completely entered the tiger's den, and it was basically impossible for them to have a chance to escape. A day later, Fortress of Eternity. Luo Sheng rested his chin on his right hand, closed his eyes, and listened to a report from a fallen demon. After all the reports are finished, may Wang be good. His eyes slowly opened, and the corners of his mouth slightly curled up. Did you finally do it? This La Roque should have more than 40 levels. Apart from the Lord, the three most powerful abyssal creatures in Chiuan territory are known as the three generals of Ziyuan. I didn't expect the other party to make a move in person. It seems that the death of the ogre leader completely offended the other party. It's just what I want, though. It's time to stretch your muscles. He got up, his black hair fell down half his waist. That fair and evil face was full of fighting spirit. He can't wait to fight against each other. Pass down the order, everything will be done according to my previous order. Yes, the fallen demon nodded respectfully and retreated into dark madness. The blood light reflected on the vast land. Boom. Violent vibrations rose from the dead silent abyss. On a distant skyline, well-equipped and mighty abyssal armies are advancing straight forward. What the hell is that? A goblin reincarnated on a hillside just happened to see such a scene, and suddenly turned pale with shock. But surprise is surprise. After reacting, he quickly took a picture and sent it to the Abyss Channel. Abyss Channel. A large wave of abyssal monsters suddenly appeared here. What's going on? Could it be that the abyssal tide is coming again? I've been there so much, I'm afraid there are tens of thousands of people. Where is this upstairs? The army in this screenshot is too scary. How is it possible? If the tide of the abyss appears again, the system will definitely issue an announcement as soon as possible. Looking at the terrain, it seems that the outland is close to the Black Forest in the east. A monster cavalry at the front is still hanging a battle flag, but the pattern on it looks very strange. Does anyone know it? Black sun, a black goat skull below. This looks like the symbol of Chiuan territory. Chiuan territory. Isn't that the Lord of Chiuan? The good brother who sent the screenshot, why don't you say it? Yeah man, why didn't you continue talking all of a sudden? Just when many reincarnators in the Abyss Channel were wondering. The other side, the goblin reincarnator who just sent a screenshot looked at the hook that pierced his entire abdomen. He turned his head stiffly. A huge monster with a human-faced spider body appeared in front of my eyes. Red Abyss Demon Spider. Level 20. Faction. Chaotic Evil. Skills. Necrotic Venom, Advanced Level 1, Armor Repair, Advanced Level 2, Greedy Devouring, Intermediate Level 9. Introduction. It is mutated from a human-faced spider. It is a unique creation of the Chiuan territory. It likes to devour, CGBD, any living beings. It is an important unit of the Chiuan territory to fight against the first layer of the abyss. Looking at the virtual panel that jumped out of his eyes, the reincarnated person was completely dumbfounded. Are these monsters from Chiuan territory? Can't help but continue to think. The Scarlet Abyss Demon Spider opened its mouth wide and swallowed it into its stomach. Distance. In the middle of the army. Great Lord Fa Roques, the outsiders in this Fang Yuan tens of thousands of meters have been cleaned up. A big orc mage in black robe respectfully greeted Fa Luke beside him. Very good. These bedbugs are like parasites in the abyss. If they are left alone, they will only increase the trouble, so we might as well clean them up at this stage. Fa Roques gave a nonchalant sound, then turned his head to look at the two reincarnators on the right who were slowly advancing with the army. The faces of the two reincarnators were pale, and Relu trembled all over his body without stopping. Although there is no bondage on them. But in his heart, he didn't even dare to think of running away. Because they know that once they have the slightest thought of running away, they will definitely end up decapitated the next moment. If the monster can't find the saint, it won't kill us all. One person used the system to send messages and stammered. Impossible, the other party said they spared our lives, so they won't go back on what they say. Half an hour later. Fortress of Eternity. Luo Sheng rested his chin on his right hand, looking at the abyss channel where the news kept flashing in front of him. What the hell is going on? How could the monsters from Chiuan territory appear in such a ghostly place? It's over, I'm at the place where the monster army is about to arrive, I'm afraid I'm going to die here. Me too. Is there still time to escape now? The corner of his mouth couldn't help but curl up, it's quite a fight. Now the Red Abyss army led by Fa Rox launched a massacre against all reincarnated people in the outer domain in the east. Looking at the information in the Abyss channel, at least tens of thousands of reincarnated people have died in their hands. Now all the reincarnators located in the east of Outland are in danger, and many people are even ready to abandon the territory and hide in other places to avoid the limelight. But it can also be seen that the opponent is aggressive. Obviously don't kill yourself, don't give up. How is everything going? Luo Sheng raised his head and squinted at a corner shadow on the right. The darkness in the shadows gradually twisted into a spiral. A graceful figure full of desire came out of it. Everything you asked Lilith to do is already ready. Okay, it's time. Luo Sheng smiled charmingly and got up slowly. Is there a problem? From the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of Lilith's eyes that hesitated to speak. Hearing Luo Sheng's voice, Lilith's face changed slightly. Kneeling her head down, she said, actually, Lilith thinks that a wisp of undead is not worthy of you, the Supreme Being, to do it yourself. Lilith can do it for. No, I want to stretch my muscles a little this time. Lilith heard it, and quickly closed her mouth. Purple's vermilion lips whispered, it's Lilith who is talking too much. The Valley of Dark Healing. On the back of a giant skeleton dragon shaped like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. My lord, go through this canyon and go a little further, and you will reach the Black Forest. The orc mage said slowly. Far Rox sat on the bone chair without opening his mouth, just staring at the deep space on the other side in front of him. Chapter 131. It's interesting. My soul consciousness has been isolated. No wonder he was able to kill Newcastle. It seems that the strength of this bug is much stronger than I expected. At first, Rox had great doubts about the statement that the opponent has 30 levels. But judging from the current situation, it is really possible that the opponent has reached level 30. Interesting, reincarnators who have reached level 30. He is now more and more interested in this and named, Holy. Boom, the skeleton dragon moved forward slowly. The majestic skeletons are like mountain peaks, endless. This giant bone dragon is the contracted summoned object of Fa Rox, and its strength is second only to the former. Every time the dragon's feet took a step, it was hundreds of meters, shaking the surrounding ground trembling again and again. For this colossal monster, it only takes a few minutes to walk out of this 10,000-meter-long valley of dark healing. My lord, the interrogation of those outsiders is over. They don't know the traces of that sage, or anything about Newcastle. An abyss slave said to Fa Rox via sound transmission. If you don't know, kill it. I don't need things that are worthless. Fa Rox said coldly. In addition to slaughtering these outsiders along the way, he also caught a lot. The purpose is naturally for the above 2 points. But it is a pity that the information that those outsider bugs can say is basically what they already know. This is. If Fa Rox felt something, White Eye started. The gloomy shadow looked towards the dome. The originally seemingly ordinary sky suddenly flickered with countless blue lights. It's an enemy attack. The whole army is on alert. Kalansa, who was directly in front of the army, raised his axe and said in a low voice. I see. Countless blue lights sliced through the dome on the other side, and came straight towards this side. The tree of the cursed vine. Orc Mage Akasa raised the skeleton staff in his hand. On the head of the staff, the black 5-pointed gemstone inlaid between the brows of the skull reveals a dark abyss formation. The curse of the abyss echoed in the void. On the piece of land under his feet, hundreds of green vines as thick as horned dragons drilled out. These green vines are like Optimus Prime, rushing straight up, and those falling meteors collide with each other. Wow, just glanced at Fa Rox in the sky, and lowered his head when he heard the sound. In the empty ground ahead, countless creatures suddenly appeared. Not only that, then densely packed skeleton creatures also appeared in the rear and on the sides of the canyon. Ambush in advance, interesting. I have to say, the courage of you, a bug, really makes me look up. But it's very stupid to have the guts but not the corresponding strength to do such a thing. F.A. Rock's words were half a smile. But just as the three great demon generals in the Chiuan territory finished speaking, a faint laugh suddenly came back. Is it? If I have. A natural disaster is coming. A sudden black mist shrouded the canopy of this land of Outland. These pitch black mist rolled up and turned into a deep vortex slowly rotating. The vortex breeds endless evil thoughts. Even when F.A. Rock saw it for the first time, he couldn't help throbbing in his heart. It was as if he had watched something invisible. The level of this spell is at least above the 5th level of the rare level. Far Rocks felt a little surprised. He has concluded that the instigator of all this is the outsider named Holy. But the other party was able to cast such a high-level abyssal spell, which still shocked him a lot. Even he only mastered 2 kinds of spells above the 5th level of rare level. It's no wonder that he was able to kill Newcastle Moore, it really has some background. However, the difference in level between you and me cannot be offset by a single spell. Endless darkness. F.A. Rocks raised his right arm slowly. A dark magic circle appeared behind him. Countless beams of black light flew out of the magic circle and shot towards the turbine in the headspace. It seems that he wants to use this blow to break open the natural disaster that has not yet fully formed. Sink, destroy, disappear. I will let you see clearly the gap in strength between us. Law Rocks is proud. He would show the outsider that a bug was always a bug. But as the saying goes, things are unpredictable. Boom. The black light that filled the sky was rushing into the sky. It was cut off by a flash of sword light. 0. Who gave you the courage to strike the sword against the Supreme Lord of the Abyss? As soon as the sword light arrived, an angry voice resounded up and down the canyon. All I saw was a stunning figure that captivated all beings coming out of a distorted space. Lilith Chesia held the sword of greed, and the 3 pairs of Black's fallen angel wings flapped slightly behind her. Those seductive eyes were full of killing intent at this moment. And the moment he saw Lilith, F.A. Rock's expression suddenly changed, fallen angel with cloud wings. He never imagined that the extremely lowly aliens could actually summon demons like fallen angels. And they were 6-winged. Your Majesty the fallen angel, you are a demon god, why do you obey the orders of the lowly alien bug? Far Rocks asked Lilith, puzzled. Although his level is much higher than Lilith's, he can still clearly feel the blood pressure that comes from the depths of his soul, no matter how high his level is. The demon god race uniquely oppresses any abyssal race. He didn't understand that even if Lilith looked at the top of the abyss, she could be regarded as a powerful existence, and would be willing to be driven by an outsider. But what Rocks doesn't know is that Lilith's anger has reached the critical point. When I heard his words, I suddenly became furious. Looking for death. Desire is the devil. The magic power of Lilith's body soared to an unprecedented level in an instant. The surging magic power is like a stormy sea, rolling and venting. This overwhelming demon power of fallen angels caused F.A. Rock's expression to change drastically. The opponent's magic power has been raised to the same level as his own in just a few snaps of his fingers. Is this the power of the demon god clan? Far Rocks looked gloomy. If it wasn't for his level being much higher than Lilith's, he might have been restrained by this oppressive force at this moment. But, hey, your Majesty, as a noble demon god clan, was so easily controlled by inferior alien bugs. It seems that the demon god clan is still stronger in the blood in the final analysis. F.A. Rocks laughed, 530, coldly, and took out a bone sword from the air with his right arm. Ridiculous. Seeing this, Lilith's beautiful face showed a look as if she was looking at a clown. The puny undead creature seemed completely unaware of what it was facing. She held up the sword of greed in her hand, and was about to use a long-planned ultimate move to directly kill the opponent. Lilith, you step back. Luo fell down with a sound. Let Lilith, who was already ready to go, stop in an instant. Next second, the killing intent on Lilith's face subsided, and she put away the sword of greed. Then turned around, lowered her head and said, Lilith obeys. The direction Lilith turned to was the center of the natural disaster vortex. In the overhead space, a slender figure walked down slowly, with graceful movements. With a smile on his face, Luo looked down at the valley of dark healing below. Step out again. Luo Sheng moved directly to Lilith's side. Leave this to me, and you can deal with the rest. Lilith understands. Lilith nodded deeply, then quickly backed away. You are the saint, Fa Rox said coldly. It's me. Before Rox could open his mouth, the other two reincarnators were already looking ferocious. Sheng's name is not only popular on the Abyss channel, but also the most popular name on the Myriad Realms channel. Because the strength displayed by the other party is completely beyond the reach of all the reincarnators in the world. For example, the first reincarnation to list items to the exchange. First place in the killer event. The first person in the competitive leaderboard and so on. In just a few short months, the Holy, who has become a mythical figure in the eyes of countless people, will be able to meet them in person one day. This naturally made them very excited. Unexpectedly, this handsome man turned out to be the sage from Abyss Channel. However, even if it is a saint, facing such a monster, I am afraid that there is only one dead end. A reincarnated murmured. Out of the corner of his eye he furtively glanced at Fa Rox. This is 41 level. Even if this holy man is rumored, he has more than 30 levels of strength. But facing the last 41 abyssal creature, the odds of winning are extremely low. If the saint is willing to join forces with the fallen angel, there is still such a possibility, but he actually let the former retreat, which is too confident. Indeed, this saint is so proud, and the end can only be a dead end. The two were not optimistic that Luo Sheng would be the opponent of this monster. After all, the level gap cannot be bridged casually. It seems that Newcastle was also killed by you. La Rox Road. If you're talking about the ogre with the two heads, I did. However, to be precise, my subordinates killed them. After all, that kind of ants are not worth my exercise. Luo Sheng shrugged. Very good. Outsider bug, you will regret your pride. Dark imprisonment. La Rox suddenly raised his left arm. In an instant, 5 abyss characters suddenly appeared around Luo Sheng. Luo Sheng's magic power was running, and he raised his hand to break it open. But I never thought that as soon as the magic power appeared from the palms and limbs, it would be swallowed and sucked by the 5 strange abyss characters, as if they were like 5 small black holes. The abyss characters shone with a dim light, turning into a 5-sided light shield to surround Luo Sheng. Strangle. The 5 open fingers are closed together. The square shell that surrounded Luo Sheng began to compress, as if it wanted to crush Luo Sheng's entire body into powder. As long as your level is lower than mine, once you are locked in by my dark prison, there is absolutely no way to break free. And, Fa Rox is full of confidence, he thought how strong this saint is. Now it seems that they just took advantage of summoning a seraphim. Crack. The crisp sound is particularly piercing and loud. The sound of flesh smashing is really endless. Far Rox grinned. Did you hear something wrong? Immediately, a voice came from the square mask, which made Fa Rox's expression stiffen. Because he discovered that the sound just now was not the sound of the flesh being crushed. Instead, the confinement shield was on the verge of breaking and issued a crackling sound. I can only see countless moire patterns spreading all over the surface of the square cover. Then it shattered. Far Rox stared. When Luo Sheng appeared in his field of vision again, there have been earth-shaking changes. The pitch-black fallen angel wings enveloped the sky like a dark night. The immortal armor was intertwined like shadows, enveloping Luo Sheng's entire body. This moment, Luo Sheng seemed to have transformed from an evil and charming man into a supreme demon master. The suffocating magic power is overwhelming. Fa Rox felt the moment, only felt that the whole soul was on the verge of collapse. Let's use any other tricks together. Luo Sheng lowered his head slightly, his deep magic pupils seemed to be burning with a pair of never-ending magic flames. He said indifferently, like a king giving a rebel a pitiful chance to kill the king. His level is now 36, and he is now under the blessing of the immortal armor. The strength is as early as the La Rox itself that surpasses the 41 level. This is also the reason why Luo Sheng dared to single out against Fa Rox. Fa Rox looked extremely gloomy. No matter how much he thought about it, he never thought that the reincarnated race of the alien bug in front of him was also a fallen angel. And he had 6 wings just like Lilith herself. This blood pressure is several times stronger than another fallen angel. La Rox can't believe it. Luo Sheng's strength completely exceeded his expectations. No, you have to strike first. Fa Rox was moved. Roar. The giant bone dragon under its feet raised its head and let out a deafening roar. Under the gaze, a pair of gigantic bone wings grew out of that naked back. The bone wings flapped, setting off a majestic sea-like air wave. The skeleton dragon went straight up, charging towards Luo Sheng. That's good. It's too slow to go up one by one. Let's solve it together faster. Luo Sheng smiled lightly. I admit that I underestimated your strength. But arrogance will not improve your strength. Far Rox was furious. No matter what he said, he is one of the 3 major demon generals under the command of the Lord of the Abyss, and his strength is comparable to many lords of the Abyss. But now he is so despised and ridiculed by an outsider. How does this make him angry? Souls in the dark, the rocks will give you the power to burn once more, souls together. Knowing that Luo Sheng is an extremely difficult opponent, Fa Rox did not hesitate and directly played one of his biggest hole cards. Conjugate Soul, a rare level 6th level spell. It can fuse its own soul body with the soul body of the skeleton dragon. Thus, in a short period of time, a huge power increase, and even a level leap. Fa Rox, under the watchful eyes of everyone, turned into a glimmer of light and entered the torso of the giant skeleton dragon. The giant skeleton dragon roared loudly, and traces of flesh and blood tissue emerged from the white limbs and bones. These flesh and blood tissues are intertwined and combined at a speed visible to the naked eye. Almost in an instant, the skeleton giant dragon that was originally filled with bones has transformed into a real abyss dragon. Outsider Bug, die. Fa Rox, whose consciousness is dominant, opened his mouth and let out a loud roar. In the bloody mouth, the sun dragon grammar emerged. The black and white halos lingering together in the magic circle turned into a mouthful of dragon's breath and sprayed out. The outer flame of the dragon's breath is pitch black, and the inner flame is pitch white, like a ray of bright moonlight falling into the earth. This incomparable power shredded the air, and charged towards Luo Sheng. Boom! A huge mushroom cloud rises high in the sky. The huge magical power instantly covered the entire dark healing valley, and the full power spread rapidly to the surrounding areas and other places. This blow gathered nearly 1/5 of my magic power. Even if he was a seraph, he would never be able to resist it unscathed. Fa Rox lifted the dragon's head, stared at the mushroom cloud, and said confidently. With the blessing of the soul-joined state, his level has reached the 42 level. The power of the blow just now was even closer to 44th level. Even the Red Abyss territory and the other 2 demon generals could only dodge the blow. So he firmly believed that the other party would never be unscathed. The strength is good. It is worthy of being one of the 3 great demon generals in Chiuan territory. But if that's all you're capable of, it's time to stop there. The sudden sound completely froze the look in Fa Rox's eyes. Luo Sheng raised his hand. The sound of violent collisions can be heard endlessly. Alienated armor. Luo Sheng naturally also noticed this scene. But trying to break through the immortal abyss armor with the double buffs of the Lord of the Dead and the uncrowned king is simply a fantasy. Unscathed? How is it possible? This is not allowed. This is a battle between the 2 of us. How can we allow other people to intervene? In just a moment, the whole dragon body grew a thick layer of spiked scales. And the Sword of Desire, which has been upgraded to the advanced 9th level, can already make Luo Sheng manifest thousands of swords in one thought, and the sharpness has also been greatly improved. I don't have much magic left now, the form is not good for me. Far Rox whispered, looking down at the same time. That's a demon. The power of French rocks is certainly strong. The Sword of Lust. The sonorous boom echoed through the minds of these slaves. As early as a month ago, he had raised all the skills he had mastered to the highest level in one go. Thousands of swords of desire appeared behind him. Unexpectedly, he was able to summon middle-level demons, and there were so many of them. Bang bang bang. He raised his right hand and snapped his fingers lightly. The swords of desire are deployed in full force, and the picture is spectacular, like a school of fish migrating, densely packed, like a black waterfall pouring out. Luo Sheng, who was intact, stood quietly in the same place, looking at Fa Rox with a smile. The gray mist gradually dispersed. This stalwart dragon body seems to be composed of hundreds of towering peaks. Spikes drilled out of the lacquered purple scales. Spikes collide with these swords of desire. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't imagine that the strange armor Luo Sheng was wearing was so powerful. Wow, Fa Rock's pupils constrict. What are you staring at? Why don't you come and help me? He had thought that it was outrageous enough that this outsider could summon a seraphim. Hearing this, the big mages quickly gave up attacking the surrounding undead creatures, and instead targeted Luo Sheng. Chuckled lightly, Fa Rocks couldn't help but exclaimed. All I could see were lava gore fiends flying out of the air on both sides of the canyon. The lava gore fiends all over the sky bared their teeth. They head towards the abyssal creatures who intend to come to support Fa Rocks. Lava curse. All the lava gore fiends opened their hands wide and cast the devil's curse together. The raging fires that can burn the sky and the earth gathered together and turned into a sea of flames. Hateful. Saw the support completely blocked by those demons. La Rocks had an ugly look. The alienated scale armor can't hold on for long, so we can only fight to the death. Outsider, even if I die, I will pull you down with me and fall into the eternal abyss. Fa Rocks growled, and breathed out another dragon's breath. In vain. Seeing this, Luo Sheng shook his head and laughed. He raised his right hand to block the dragon's breath. This is the time. In the middle of the skull of the giant skeleton dragon, a faint light flashed out quickly, revealing it. Only saw. The moment Luo Sheng blocked the dragon's breath, Fa Rocks teleported behind him. The moment your magic power is mobilized is the time of your death. Go to hell, outsider. The bone sword covered with the evil fire of the abyss swung down. It fell on the immortal Yuan armor. Boom! Sparks and air waves suddenly appeared at the same time, making a deafening noise. It seems that this is your last resort. Luo Sheng glanced behind Fa Rocks, who thought he had caught the perfect opportunity from the corner of his eye, and his words were full of sarcasm. King's Landing. The cold word, like winter is approaching, reverberates in the void. I haven't had time to force the rocks, it just feels like an instant. Above the body, there are thousands of mountains pressing down. Not good. Magic Rock's expression changed, and he was about to cast other magic defenses. But now it's too late to react. Under the pressure of this unparalleled gravity, Fa Rock's body fell uncontrollably to the canyon doctor. Boom! Backquote. My lord, I will help you. Seeing this, Kalangsa roared, and the sun axe chopped all the undead creatures in front of him. Karansa's level is already 38. In this Red Abyss army, the strength is second only to the existence of the French rocks and the giant bone dragon. Crack! The huge beetle shell on the back opened, and the two pairs of thin white insect wings flapped rapidly. In full view, Kalansa flew into the air, bipolar military domain. A huge anti-gravity barrier spread out from his body. Oh, it was able to offset part of the coercion released by King's Landing. Luo Sheng raised his eyebrows slightly when he saw the enchantment that had unfolded from the other party's body, which could block King's Landing's coercion. Ants from the outside world, the dignity of the Chiuan territory cannot be provoked by you. Kalansa's 4 eyes gleamed with blood, and his 6 thick arms held the extremely heavy ice giant axe in his hand at the same time. The giant axe exuded a bone-piercing chill, and wherever it passed, a little bit of frost condensed in the void. HMPH. Since you want to die so much, I will fulfill you. In front of Karansa, Lilith appeared. That charming face is full of coldness, Meng. At the same time that Lilith and Karansa were confronting each other. The other side, in a sunken cave, the embarrassed Fa Rocks half kneeled on the ground, with the bone sword in his hand stuck in the ground. I can't move my body at all. La Rock's eyes were ugly, and he struggled to move his limbs, but the effect was minimal. It was as if every part of his body was locked with chains. The despicable outsider ants can only play some tricks, and have the ability to duel with me openly. Far Rocks looked up, growling. The moment they met each other's eyes, Fa Rocks, who was originally furious, gradually calmed down. Luo Sheng felt very ridiculous when he heard this sentence. Below him are countless corpses of thousands of races, and the corpses are piled up from the boundary of the universe to the end of the deep space on the other side. 7,000 experience points, as expected of an abyssal monster above level 40, it really has enough experience. He clicks to collect. Backquote. You, who are you? After getting what you want, It's an upright duel, you have the nerve to say so. Then Luo Sheng easily plundered all the memories. Luo Sheng, who was watching all this, chuckled lightly, the eyes of despair. Collecting, please wait patiently. More. A splendid imprint appeared in the magic pupil. These are the 3 great demon generals in Chiuan territory. I am so disappointed. I thought I would be able to move vigorously this time. Luo Sheng, who showed the full form of the fallen angel, stood in the ruins of the broken world. He came to France rocks from the air. You have obtained the Death Knight's Cloak 1 rare level 8th level item, the Death Knight's Armor 1 rare level 7th level item, Necromancer Orb 2 rare level 5th level item, rare level Skills Book, Death Shock, Asterisk 1 rare level 7th level item, middle level Abyssal Soul. Listen to the other party's extremely proud tone. Sucker Punch. F.A. Rocks thought that he had slaughtered countless creatures in his life, but compared with the scene in front of him, it was completely insignificant. Seeing the law Rocks has completely absorbed the fear of the Eye of Despair. F.A. Rock's eyes were full of anger, and he gritted his teeth. Stinky. You seek death. It is detected that the current environment is suitable for using talents, and the supreme favor is being used. A trembling voice came from F.A. Rock's mouth. Luo Sheng raised his right palm. I don't hesitate to accept the memory. You killed a level 42 undead knight and got 7,000 experience points. Collection completed. With his hands behind his back, he looked down at the opponent in a condescending posture. Luo Sheng killed F.A. Rocks. Totally a drop in the ocean. Even the frenzied magical power of the body quickly calmed down. Under the provocation of Luo Sheng's words, F.A. Rocks, whose anger value had already broken through the peak, chose to consume his own life force in exchange for the promotion of the King of Power. Only in Far Rock's mind, F.A. Rocks, whose spirit was completely under his control, had no resistance at all. Marys. In just a few moments, surging magic power spewed out from the upper and lower parts of the armor. Adertisement. There are a lot of good things, and it really didn't take a trip in vain. Luo Sheng took a closer look at the detailed descriptions of these dropped objects and said very satisfied. Ah, there was a high-pitched howling from behind. All I saw was that Kalangsa, who had previously confronted Lilith, had cut off 5 of her 6 thick arms. In the bloody wound, bright red blood flowed like a gurgling spring. How is it possible? Her level is obviously several levels lower. Even if she has the blood of fallen angels, it is impossible to block all my attacks. Kalangsa was terrified, his 4 eyes fixed on the seductive and evil figure in the distance. Lilith looked indifferent. Those glamorous eyes were full of contempt and ridicule towards the other party in front of him. The race creatures on the first layer of the abyss are always so weak. But to be able to hand over a few tricks in my hands is also the greatest honor in this life of such a lowly species like you. Lilith slowly raised the sword of greed held in her right hand, and the 6 wings on her back, which were half opened, fully opened at this moment. The pitch-black fallen angel's wings cover the sky and the sun, and the darkness on the wings is not only suffocatingly beautiful, but also seems to be able to swallow everything around it. The most primitive power of fallen angels lingers on Lilith's body. On her forehead, the imprint of the sun obliterating the moon appeared. The abyss covers the earth, all things return to will, and finally come to this world. When the spell is quickly chanted, Lilith's eyes darkened instantly. And everything around it also turned into pitch black, as if all colors were swallowed up by this treacherous force. I will give you the end. The sword of greed possessed the power to destroy heaven and earth, and was swung down by Lilith. Crash! This dark purple sword light was nearly 10,000 meters long, covering the entire dark healing valley. Looking at this incomparable sword, Longsa was already dumbfounded. He used to think that those high-level people in the abyss, the Protoss with 1 person below 1 person and above 10,000 people, could get such a high status by virtue of their innate blood coercion against all other abyssal creatures of the races that are not demon gods. It seems now, the Joker turned out to be just himself. The power of this move, he dares to assert, even the Supreme Lord is here. I am afraid that I dare not resist it with my body. Boom. Finally, most of Chiuan's army, including Kalangsa, were reduced to ashes by this sword. And the remaining defeated generals who lost their commander also lost their fighting spirit in an instant, their formation quickly collapsed, and their troops were defeated like a mountain. I'm not dreaming, that monster was killed. Chen Kai's eyes were dull, and his mouth was trembling. Monsters, all monsters. The outsider beside him, Lu Wenin, trembled tremblingly, making an extremely hoarse trill. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, the two of them couldn't believe it. A few minutes ago, Ziyuan's army, which was in a state of overwhelming momentum, seemed to be able to break through every part of this abyss, and was defeated just like that. And the Fa rocks, who existed like a god in their eyes, also died in the hands of that holy. The process takes less than a few minutes. They saw with their own eyes how Fa rocks, who is known as one of the 3 Chiuan generals, was easily defeated in the Luo Sheng confrontation. Don't mess up the formation. Once the formation is messed up, the battle will be completely over. It's over. Even Lord Pharaoh is dead, and if we don't escape, we will only die. Looking at the completely collapsed situation ahead, Chen Kai woke up from the countless screams. He looked at Lu Wenin, his tone trembling. Take advantage of this chaotic opportunity. Let's go. As soon as the words came out, Lu Wenin also reacted in an atmosphere of fear. Good. The two got up quickly and ran away from a narrow and steep road on the right. But when they thought they could escape from birth, "You two, where do you want to go?" The calm voice echoed softly in their ears. And this familiar voice also made the two of them froze all of a sudden. With a pale face, he raised his head stiffly. Mid-air. Luo Sheng's gaze was cast on their bodies impressively, causing their hair to stand on end, and they only felt a chill rushing from the spine behind them. Member of the Shabeshui Alliance, Chen Kai, thank you Lord Sheng for saving our lives and letting us escape from the clutches of that abyssal monster. Chen Kai suddenly knelt down on one knee and said. When Lu Wenin saw this scene, he quickly knelt down and said, My lord, Lu Wenin Racket, a member of the Fu Yuan Alliance, thank you Lord Sheng for saving our lives. Seeing that Luo Sheng remained silent, Chen Kai was worried that the other party would misunderstand his life. Hastily said, Lord Sheng is telling the truth, both of us were captured by that abyss monster not long ago, and we are not with them. Yeah, Luo Sheng couldn't help chuckling. It's absolutely true, it's absolutely true. We were all forcibly captured by that monster, not with them. Because of our lack of strength, we couldn't escape even if we wanted to, so we could only follow along. We also notified many reincarnators living here along the way, and told them to leave here quickly. We wanted to notify you, sir, but you couldn't contact you anyway, so. Lu Wenin raised his head and said in a panic. There are no rumors about Luo Sheng's character in the channel, although he is not sure about the other party's temperament. But judging from the absolute strength and tone displayed by the opponent, this is definitely a decisive master. The opponent can easily kill Fa rocks, and dealing with them is as easy as dealing with a few ants. All they begged now was for the monster to let them go. Gulu. The two swallowed one after another, and kept praying in their hearts. And their prayers seemed to have been answered. It turns out that this is the case, the two of you can leave now. The moment I heard this sentence, both of them stared at each other. The smile on his face seemed to be overflowing. They survived. Thank you, Lord Saint. Thank you, Lord Sheng, for saving your life. We will never forget it. If you need anything, you can feel free to ask me, Fu Yuan Alliance. Lu Wenin patted his chest and smiled. The two were just about to turn around and leave this land of right and wrong immediately. But just as he took a step, Luo Sheng's voice sounded again. By the way, I need you to leave one thing here before I leave. They looked at each other. Is this asking for favors from them? However, in order to survive, the two of them didn't dare to smear even a little bit of ink on their right arms, and directly took out all the best things in their bodies in one go. You seem to have misunderstood what I mean. Words with a hint of a smile sounded. ACFB misunderstood. They were a little confused, since they didn't want something from them, then what did they want? Except for my life, I only have these items left, but if Master Sheng wants anything, you can just say it, I am the Beishui Alliance. Congratulations, you got it. Luo Sheng's 6 words were like a blade piercing through a layer of curtains, suddenly killing the already lively atmosphere. Holy man, you really know how to joke, you're PFF'd. Warm blood spattered on Chen Kai's cheeks. Chen Kai turned his head tremblingly. Lu Wenin's head beside him rolled to the ground at some point. The hot blood is continuously spurting from the smooth neck. Chen Kai was stunned when his eyes looked at each other again. I just feel that that fair and handsome face is now grinning like a devil. I am a senior member of the Beishui Alliance. You killed me. But with the Beishui Alliance. The word, enemy, has not had time to spit out. The sudden sword of desire had already cut off the head. The head flew high, with a lot of blood. It is detected that the current environment is suitable for using talents, and is using Supreme Favor 1. You have successfully killed a level 12 reincarnator, and you will get 4,500 experience points. You successfully killed a level 11 reincarnator and got 4,500 experience points. He glanced at the 2 kill messages that popped up. Luo Sheng smiled disdainfully. I watched everything that shouldn't be seen. How could I possibly let you go? Not to mention still pretending to be here. I really think I'm stupid. I don't even watch the Abyss channel. Before F.A. Rocks and others arrived, he had been paying attention to the information of Abyss channel. Among them he saw an interesting one. The reason why F.A. Rocks can accurately find the location of those reincarnated people in the nearby area is due to Lu Wenen's contribution. Of course, if I were in that form, I would definitely betray others decisively in exchange for a chance to survive. But the strange thing is that these 2 people still pretended to be innocent people in front of themselves afterwards. It was really disgusting to watch him. But the main reason is because he believes that once he spares their lives. On the Abyss channel and even the Myriad Worlds channel the next day, you will soon be able to see news about yourself flying all over the sky. Luo Sheng turned around and looked at Lilith. You will be in charge of the rest of the battlefield. Please rest assured, my Supreme Lord, Lilith will definitely complete your mission successfully. Luo Sheng nodded and left here. This wave of battle directly raised his level from the original 36th level to 37th level. Now he is only 3 levels away from the 40th level. Meanwhile, Abyss Channel. The fact that the Rocks continue to slaughter outsiders in Outland has already become a huge hot topic. People are constantly following new news all the time these days. Tisk tisk, the reincarnated people at the Black Forest are probably going to be slaughtered by that Dongyuan army. I heard that the reason why Chiuan territory went to war so violently was to find the sage. Holy, could it be the Holy Boss? Bingo. What did the Holy Boss do to make Chiuan territory so angry that he sent one of the 3 demon generals directly? This time I was really hurt by that saint. The situation of us reincarnated people in the Abyss was already good, but now it's better, and it's going to make things worse. Speaking of which, why is there no news yet? +1, why no one came out to report the situation? Just when everyone was discussing happily. The Sheng gang you are concerned about has listed a new item on the exchange. A message popped up on their panels. Click to view, and the exchange interface pops up. Cloak of the Death Knight. Level. Rare 8th level. Introduction. A demon general from the Chiuan territory on the 1st floor of the Abyss, a necromancer knight. A drop from Shifa Rocks, it contains the powerful resentment of the necromancer knight. Effect. Undead Blessing can be immune to all curses and undead spells below level 40. Death Knight Radiance consumes a certain amount of mana, and can summon a time-limited undead servant. The servant's level is linked to the wearer's level. Unwilling Howling. When seeing the attribute interface of this item, almost instantly, everyone was dead silent, until one person took the lead in sending out the sentence in the Abyss channel. The Abyss channel is boiling. I'm so obedient. That demon general in the Chiuan territory was killed by the Big Brother. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. This is an abyssal monster of level 40. To be able to kill the opponent, the saint must be at least level 40. Let me go. This level gap is directly dozens of levels higher than the second-ranked reincarnator in the arena. I declare, the holy man is the strongest reincarnator among all the reincarnators in the world today. It's already been done a long time ago. It's outrageous. I have just reached level 5 now, and some people have already reached level 40. Now I am more and more curious about the reincarnation race and racial talent of the Big Brother. +1. Fortress of Eternity. Luo Sheng looked at the sending speed of 9999 plus per second in the Abyss channel. Laughing, he turned off the channel. Attention falls on the transaction information that pops up quickly on the right. Shongshan, bought your item, Dead Knight's Cloak, *1. I like to eat it just because, bought your product, Dead Knight's Armor, *1. Ma Po Tofu, bought your product Rare Level Skill Book, Death Shock, *1. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. The speed is really fast. He couldn't help sighing. From the corner of the eye, he glanced at the ever-growing number of spars above. It has to be said that after a few months of development, many reincarnated people are much richer than they were at the beginning. Especially those alliances that were first established. Basically rich. As for this scene, Luo Sheng naturally liked it very much. After all, there are many more high-quality customers, and his sales can be further increased. Immediately, with his right hand resting on his cheek, he said with a half-smile, I have killed one of the 3 great generals in the Chiuan territory, so the Chiuan territory must have jumped their feet in anger, but there is nothing they can do about it. According to the information he extracted from Fa Rock's memory, the Chiuan lord entered a certain forbidden area to retreat several years ago, seeking further opportunities. Nowadays, things big and small in the territory are basically managed by the 3 big magic generals. Now that Fa Rox died, although Chiuan territory would be extremely angry, he was sure that the other party would not take revenge rashly. Because Chiuan territory doesn't know who killed Fa Rox at all, nor does it know the specific strength of the killer. The opponent is in the light, and I am in the dark. Another point is the most important. The Lord has not yet appeared, and the remaining 2 demon generals can only sit in the territory in order to stabilize the situation first. When the time comes, at most a few investigation teams will be sent over. Luo Sheng smiled. At that time, I can take advantage of this time to continue to develop. I'm only 3 levels away from level 40 soon. And after the 1st to 40th level, I will raise the territory to the 4th level. After reaching the 4th tier territory, he has absolute confidence that he can defeat Ziyuan's territory. Now it's better to go dormant for a while. After drawing up the plan, Luo Sheng just wanted to open the building interface. A new level of task has appeared in the Abyss task. Click to view. Click to view, and a new task appears under the eyes. Mission name, Kai Yuan's Fury. Task level, 5. Introduction. A brave reincarnation beheaded the demon general in Chiuan territory, but his actions aroused the anger of Chiuan territory. A few months later, Chiuan territory will launch a campaign against reincarnated people from the entire continent of Abyss. The brutal revenge massacre. Please all reincarnated resist this crisis together. Reward for completing the task. 10,000 experience points, intermediate spar 10, low-level spar 10,000, low-level abyssal soul 500. Maximum number of participants, 5 people. Task time, 150 days. Task location, 1st floor of the Abyss. Yes, no to accept this task. Note, if the task time is exceeded, the task will fail and you will no longer be able to accept this task. When the reward is settled, the rating must not be lower than sea level or you will not be able to get the reward. Oh, I didn't expect that it would cause the Abyss mission to appear, which is unexpected. Luo Sheng took a closer look. His attention is mainly on the introduction and task time. A few months later, that is to say, now I have a few months to upgrade from level 37 to level 40. There's enough time, Luo Sheng said calmly. Then he clicked to accept the task. Accepting this task for you, please wait a moment. Please choose whether to complete by one person or by multiple people. Luo Sheng did not hesitate to choose solo completion. After all, this is the only way to maximize your own interests. As for many people complete, it is basically irrelevant to him whether those people participate or not. Abyss channel, I'm going. The 5th level task was accepted by a single person, who did it. In this situation, I can guess that only the big brother. The strength of the holy boss is strong, but it is impossible to be strong enough to be an enemy of the entire Chiuan territory. I think this should be done by some idiot who has nothing to do. I'm afraid that the big brother Sheng will have the real experience. After accepting the task, Luo Sheng opened the demon god's desire field. Now it's time for another wave of soldiers. 100 lava gore fiends will come first, then the eternal fallen dark knight, and Luo Sheng clicked while thinking. In order to speed up the upgrade speed of the level, violent soldiers are necessary 5. A month later, it's level 39, and now I'm still short of the last experience points to reach level 40. Luo Sheng looked at the required experience points for distance to the next level on the personal interface. It was still 25,000 points short. He then looked at the kill information on the right. Your unit, Eternal Fallen Dark Rider, killed a level 12 armored golden rhinoceros and gained 350 experience points. Your unit, Demon Fallen, killed a level 8 black lizard and gained 200 experience points. Your unit, Eternal Fallen Knight, killed a level 10 bloodworm and gained 250 experience points. A kill message pops up basically every few minutes. At this rate, it will probably only take 2 to 3 days to solve the problem. 623, Luo Sheng sat on the throne, whispering his thoughts. My great lord, I have something important to report to you. A respectful whisper came from the void. Luo Sheng raised his right hand lightly, and countless wisps of hazy purple mist floated out from all over his body. The purple mist gathered together, and a smooth circular magic mirror appeared. Greetings, my supreme lord. The Eternal Fallen Dark Knight, Lava Gorefiend, Undead Abomination and other units knelt on one knee and said in unison. The picture in the mirror is the fattest continent far away. Tell me, what's the matter? Just 10 minutes ago, a giant dragon grave appeared on the plain not far from Warji Forest. Judging from the aura emanating from the grave, the giant dragon was at least epic level during his lifetime. Epic level. Luo Sheng narrowed his eyes slightly. Giant dragons are one of the species most eager for gold and silver treasures in the world. When each giant dragon is about to die, it will build a magnificent dragon tomb to bury itself. And will also bring all the treasures of his life into the underground world. An epic level giant dragon has lived for at least 10,000 years. Not to mention treasures, if you can find a dragon bone, it is priceless. So the value of this dragon tomb is self-evident. There should be a lot of forces in fattest continent who are also eyeing this dragon tomb. Luo Sheng said lightly. An epic level dragon tomb appeared in the world, and he didn't believe that the local forces in fattest continent didn't care. After investigation, people have been sent to the dragon tomb, including the Tiankai Empire, one of the 5 great empires in the fattest continent, and the true bishop, the Valley of the Wind Dragon. Half of the forces in the southern continent have basically sent to this place. People come. Besides, there are many outsiders. Luo Sheng nodded slightly. The forces mentioned by the Eternal Fallen Knight are basically one of the most powerful forces in mainland France. Has anyone arrived at the Dragon Tomb? Because the Dragon Tomb is located at the extreme border of the entire southern land map, no local forces from fattest continent have arrived yet. However, on the side of the reincarnation, there are a few who are about to approach the cemetery. After listening, Luo Sheng rested his chin on his right hand, and murmured in his heart, although the risk is huge, it might as well be an opportunity. Thoughts for a moment. Luo Sheng said, I will send Valiva to go to the Dragon Tomb with you, and you only need to stay a part of them to guard where they are. The tomb of an epic dragon, there are definitely a lot of good things inside. Follow orders. After explaining a few words and disconnecting from him, Luo Sheng then called Valiva to the Fort of Eternity. Exalted Lord of the Abyss, may I ask what you want to tell your most devout servant? Valiva bowed respectfully to the ground. A newly born dragon tomb has been discovered on other continents, and I need you to go there. Valiva bowed his head deeply. Please rest assured, Lord. Valiva will successfully complete the mission entrusted by you. Now the local forces on that continent are rushing towards the location of the Dragon Tomb, so try not to conflict with them in this operation. Luo Sheng continued. Those local forces in the continent of Fatis are only stronger than weaker than the Abyss territory on their own side. Now my own strength is not enough to confront them head-on. His current plan is to catch up with those forces before they reach the Dragon Tomb. First take out some of the things inside. Then come with me. Soon, Luo Sheng uses the magic box to send Valiva to Wall's Forest. It's the so-called seeking wealth and wealth. If something unexpected happens at that time. For example, the worst thing is that Valiva died in battle, and he can bear it to the end. After all, Valiva is now a heroic unit. Hero-level arms are different from other arms, and other arms cannot be revived after death. Even if the hero-level units are dead, as long as they have enough resurrection resources, they can be resurrected by summoning buildings. This is why Luo Sheng dared to let Veliva go. I hope you don't disappoint me. The reason why Luo Sheng didn't let Lilith, who was the most powerful, go was mainly because he felt that Lilith would have a much higher chance of being exposed than Veliva. As one of the original 18-winged fallen angels, Lilith symbolizes the evil of the abyss, especially the fallen power that is pure enough to overshadow any holy light. Once Lilith casts it, there is a high probability that the priests of the Holy See in the continent of Fatis will notice it immediately. At that time, it is very likely that this competition, which was originally just a competition for giant dragon treasures, will turn into a battle to siege and kill the abyssal apostles. At the same time, Fatis mainland. How about it? Conquering a solemn look, he looked at the dragonmen dispatching troops ahead. The dragon soldier knelt down on one knee and replied, "Master, according to the news from the dragon-armored winged beast, there are no forces around the dragon grave yet." Good. Hearing this sentence, he stretched his eyebrows. He stood up suddenly, and waved his right hand. "Everything is going according to plan, the faster the better." Yes. The dragon soldier made a salute and retreated quickly. Conquer turned his head to look in the direction of the dragon tomb, his eyes filled with fiery color. The dragon's blood that was about to move in his body was telling him that there must be a dragon treasure in this tomb. If he can get it, the situation where he lags behind other top reincarnators will definitely be reversed. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Moments passed. This is the dragon's tomb. On the white cloud of the blue sky, Conqueror stands on the back of a dragon-armored winged beast, looking down. On the endless plain, there stands an extremely conspicuous huge copper building. The building is square and up to 1,000 meters high, which can be described as magnificent. Great Master, the tomb has been surveyed and there are no traps. A ray of gold soul emerged from Conquer's side, and replied softly. Good. Under the sign of conquering, the dragon-armored winged beast flew down to the dragon tomb. Wow! After landing quickly, Conquer jumped from his back. He looked up. His fiery eyes stared at the towering dragon gate in front of him. Countless lifelike ancient dragons are carved on the surface of the bronze door. These giant dragons dominate the sky and sea, the earth and the forest. Almost the whole world is occupied by these giant dragons. Even if it is endless years, it seems that this great race that shines like a star cannot be erased. Standing in front of this gate now, he vaguely felt the aura left by an ancient dragon. That's right, there must be a treasure I need inside. The closer he got to the tomb of the giant dragon, Conquer felt his blood boil. As the reincarnation race is the ancient dragon himself, he is born with a strong perception of the dragon. It's not too late, let's enter the tomb immediately. The voice of conquest is loud. Now that all the forces in Fatis continent have not arrived here, this is an excellent opportunity for me. He approached the gate and poured magic power into a glazed magic ball in the center of the bronze gate. Crack! The ancient and heavy door opening sound rose slowly. The door opens inwards. Conquer immediately led a group of arms into it. The epic dragon tomb is full of dangers, so he took away nearly 80% of the troops in the territory during this trip, leaving only 20% in the territory. At the same time, the Abyss level. Fortress of Eternity. Your unit, Eternal Fallen Dark Rider, killed a level 20 Dragon Tooth Soldier and gained 800 experience points. Your hero level unit, Villawattist, killed a level 25 Dragon Tooth General, and gained 1500 experience points. Is it fast? It's already entered the Dragon Tomb. Looking at the killing information that kept popping up, Luo Sheng couldn't help admiring. It's indeed the grave of an epic level dragon, and the monsters that appear are at least level 20. But he is very clear that these shrimp soldiers and crab generals are just the weakest existence in the entire Dragon Tomb. It is rumored that although the giant dragon in the Dragon Tomb has died, its soul will turn into a dragon soul to guard the entire cemetery. If this is the case, that dragon soul will be the biggest danger in this trip to the Dragon Tomb. But it's okay. Luo Sheng rested his chin on his right hand, his eyes were calm. The dragon magic robe worn by Veliva can reduce the hostility of all the dragons in the world to him, and this treasure plays a great role in the Dragon Tomb. In addition to Veliva, there must be other reincarnated people who have also entered the Dragon Tomb to hunt for treasure at this moment. Luo Sheng smiled slightly. What he is really afraid of are the local forces in Fatis continent, as for these outsiders who come to want a piece of the pie. In his eyes, they were just a group of clowns who were so ridiculous that they couldn't be more ridiculous. In the dragon tomb, in a vast dark palace, a group of well-equipped dragon soldiers are slowly moving forward. Conquer stood in the middle of the soldiers, looking around while advancing. He clenched the West Wind sacred sword tightly in his hand. After all, this is the tomb of the giant dragon. Although it contains countless treasures, it also hides countless dangers. Great Lord, the road ahead discovers a new chamber. A dragon-armored winged beast called the Voice of Conqueror. Okay, I'll come right away. Under the sign of conquest, all arms quickened their pace. Now that time is running out, you must get what you want and leave here safely before Fatis's mainland forces arrive. The forward process took about a few minutes. Conquer from that dark palace to that secret chamber. Although the secret room is only 1/3 the size of the previous palace, it has a completely different atmosphere from the previous one. The secret room is very bright. Around the chamber of secrets stand 4 giant dragon statues. The statue is so magnificent that it nearly reaches the top of the entire chamber. These 4 giant dragons have different shapes, but without exception, they all opened a bloody mouth that could swallow the sky and destroy the earth. In these mouths, there is a huge pale blue flame suspended. A dim light from the flame swept away the darkness of the chamber. But at this moment Conquer's attention is not on these, but concentrated on a square pool in front of the secret room. The pool is a deep blue and you can't see anything underneath. But beside the pool, there is a bone altar. The miracle born in the world, please grant me the power to explore all things, the pupil of truth. Conquer after chanting the spell. The next moment, those sharp eyes were covered with a layer of 313 gold. Dragon's treasure. Introduction. There is a treasured object of the dragon Leogus under the pool. Opening method. Open the altar and offer a sacrifice unit. Sure enough, there are good things. Conquer the corner of the mouth with a hook. This interface is exactly the ability brought to him by the pupil of truth. Be able to find out where the treasure is for yourself, and get the method to get it from it. This is also one of his biggest cards now. Are you offering a sacrifice? Conquer ordered a draconian soldier to step up to the altar and imbue it with magic. Wow, the skull of the unknown creature on the altar and the pair of hollow eyes exuded bright red blood. Then the life force of the dragon soldier standing on the altar was being absorbed by the skull at a speed visible to the naked eye. When the life force of the dragon soldier was drained, the water in the pool behind suddenly boiled. It seems to be heated to thousands of degrees Celsius at once. The treasure is finally about to appear. Excited to conquer. After the dragon tomb this time, his strength will definitely increase greatly. Soon, I will conquer and take back my place in the arena. The water in the green pool gradually rolled up a whirlpool. Hoo-hoo, the whistling sound like a cold wind is endless. A streak of blood rose from the vortex. A glazed blood bead is suspended. Wisps of blood linger around it. Dragon Blood Orb. Level. Epic Tier 3. Introduction. It contains the blood essence of the giant dragon Leogus, which possesses extraordinary power. Efficacy. Great Dragon Blessing. Those whose racial bloodline is dragon, will get all aspects of the attributes of blood beads. Note. The stronger the bloodline of the dragon family in the body, the higher the increase obtained. The divine power of the dragon consumes a certain amount of magic power, and can summon an array of soul power of the giant dragon Leogus. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. God help me too. Seeing the attribute interface of this secret treasure, Conquer showed unprecedented joy. In his opinion, this treasure was specially made for him. Go and bring me the treasure. But joy did not dazzle Conqueror's head. He turned his head to look at a dragon soldier. The dragon soldier nodded slightly, and walked towards the blood bead. Although the treasure is close at hand, he dare not be careless. After all, this dragon tomb is full of dangers, and if you are not careful, you can be doomed. Soon, the dragon soldiers successfully obtained the dragon blood bead. But just as the soldiers turned around to hand over this treasure to Conquer. Wow, a burst of dim light suddenly flickered on the surface of the blood bead. Where's my treasure? Conquering Pupils was startled, and lost his voice. I saw that the giant dragon blood bead that was still quietly lying on the hands of the dragon soldiers had disappeared at this moment. It just disappeared out of thin air. The dragon soldier was also completely confused. He only saw a faint light appearing on the surface of the blood bead. After the dim light disappeared, the blood beads also disappeared strangely. The pupil of truth. Conker's eyes suddenly burst into golden light. This is space fluctuation. Someone stole my stuff. Open the conquest of the pupil of truth, and soon find out the problem. Under the vision of the pupil of truth. In the original place of the giant dragon blood bead, there is an extremely tiny trace of space magic. His face was extremely livid, and he gritted his teeth. The things I conquered are not so good. The cursed bow. Furious inside, he took out a big black bow. This cursed bow is rare level 3, which he bought from the exchange. The object does not need to be aimed, and only needs a medium to draw the bow and shoot it. Whoever you are, you must pay the price for taking what I conquered. Conker pulls the bowstring, and the magic power of both hands is injected into the bow body through contact. Wow! The continuous influx of magic power caused several bloody runes to float on the dark bow of the cursed bow. A pitch-black arrow condensed in the string, and then shot out. The arrow flew out several meters, directly into the space, and disappeared. Unless you are a monster of the undead type, no matter what creature you are, even if your level is higher than mine, you will be temporarily affected by the cursed arrow. The cursed arrow has successfully locked the target through the medium, and the opponent basically cannot avoid it. After the anger subsided a little, Conker put away the cursed bow, took a deep breath, and said coldly, "There is no need to delay. We can only find other treasures first. The time now, every second is extremely precious. You can't ruin the overall situation for one treasure. After all, after a while, those local forces in Fatus continent will also arrive at this dragon tomb. His current strength is no match for those 3,000 or 4,000 level guys." In a partial palace of the dragon tomb, Viliva raised his hands high, and a magic circle surrounded by white light floated in front of him. Clatter, accompanied by bursts of light noise. I saw clusters of dim light flying out of the magic circle. When the gloomy light dissipated, treasures of different shapes floated in front of him. One of these items is the dragon blood orb. It seems that this is all the treasures around here. For a moment, Viliva lowered his arms and stopped the operation of the spell. The space magic he just cast can summon all the things he can feel around him from the air. Big Mage, I found a secret passage ahead and all the obstacles have been cleared. An eternal fallen dark knight knelt behind Viliva and said. Good. Vilivar's gold skeletal face was frosty. His mental power could already vaguely feel that there were many extremely powerful waves of magic power approaching the tomb. Among them, there is also the power of the holy light that he hates the most. The servants of the heavens really spread all over the world. Quote, HMPH. But it's almost too soon. The Supreme Lord of the Abyss will soon come to all walks of life. At that time, all living beings will be reborn in the midst of destruction. And the unforgivable holy light will be completely annihilated in this world. Viliva whispered softly. He turned around slowly, just about to leave here. This is. Viliva's figure stopped, and he turned to the void direction on the right. The space is visibly distorted by the naked eye. A black light suddenly emerged. The cursed arrow galloped forward with infinite death power, pulling up a jet black stream. A magical barrier rose instantly, blocking the attack of the cursed arrow. Using a curse, such a ridiculous method to deal with me. The slightly beating gold flames in the hollow skull eyes were full of disdain. Doesn't the caster know that spell attacks like curses are basically ineffective against undead like him? Chiuan Zhaohao. Let me see who you are. Viliva raised his right arm and aimed at the cursed arrow, Wei Su. Next moment, the scenes from when the cursed bow was taken out by the conquest to when it was shot were all presented in Viliva's mind. It turned out to be those outsider ants. Since you want to court death, I'll give you a ride. He took out his staff and waved it, and cast the undead summoning technique. A huge abyss summoning array rose from the ground. Then a bunch of ugly abyssal monsters appeared from it. Viliva picked up the arrow of curse and gave orders to these hundreds of abyssal monsters, find the owner of this breath and kill him. After receiving the order, these monsters quickly ran towards one direction. These monsters that have been fed by Viliva for a long time are already hungry, and they can't wait to taste the taste of blood. Master, Be careful, there is movement ahead. A dragon soldier reports. All the troops who were walking stopped their movements, raised their weapons, and were ready to go. The conquest in the center looked dignified. Because he feels it too. From the dark passage ahead, there came a strange and unusual power. Soon, huge figures gradually appeared in the darkness. There are countless abyss monsters with hideous and terrifying appearances, their eyes filled with killing intent. At the moment when he saw Conquer and others, he opened his bloody mouth and lay down. The dragon soldiers standing at the forefront lined up together to form a steel wall to block the impact of these abyssal monsters. With such an evil power, how could there be such a thing in the dragon's tomb? Conquer frowned. As one of the most proud races in the world, the giant dragon race can never tolerate such an evil monster appearing in its own grave. Moreover, he has seen many kinds of undead creatures, and he dares to assert that these brutal monsters definitely do not belong to any of them. That aura that seems to gather all the malice in the world is like abyss. Suddenly recalling the conquest of something, his complexion changed suddenly. At the same time, the dragon soldiers, who looked as solid as gold soup, suddenly fell into the lower peak. Like wild beasts, those abyssal monsters rushed through a defense. Several dragon-armored winged beasts just wanted to concentrate their attack on the direction where the number of monsters in the abyss is the largest. In the dark passage, a red giant python suddenly flew out. The giant python was as fast as a gust of wind, and came to the center of the battlefield in the blink of an eye. He opened his mouth wide. Several shots of strongly corrosive green liquid were ejected. Several dragon-armored winged beasts couldn't dodge in time, and all parts of their bodies touched the liquid. Wow! White mist bubbling like steam. The liquid is so corrosive that even the scales of the dragon-armored winged beast can't resist. The dragon-armored winged beast wailed. The flesh and blood were corroded, revealing the white bones. Seeing that the situation is not good, Conquest also joined the fray. A group of monsters of several levels AIFJ also want to prevent me from conquering. The Holy Sword of the West Wind. The simple and unsophisticated sword body became hot, like the world of the sun. Conquer holds the Holy Sword of West Wind and swings it with full strength. The red sword light split the several abyss monsters in front in half. The blazing real fire burned up instantly, turning the remaining limbs of those monsters into ashes. My West Wind sacred sword was forged by Imperial Nice, and the holy French words of the Cardinal of the Bright Holy See are engraved on it. It is more than enough to deal with you abyssal monsters. Upon seeing this, a smile appeared on his face. Boom! A black on suddenly rises first, followed by deafening explosions covering the place. Only saw. All the dragon soldiers in front were blown away. What the hell is this? Conquer's expression changed. Under the field of vision, the abominable abyss monsters merged together unexpectedly. But rather than fusion, it would be more accurate to say that they devoured each other. Together, these things eventually turned into a demon-like monster. The monster has a goat skull with a pair of huge curved horns on top of its head. A pair of wings covered with spiked scales spread out high on the back. Roar! The monster is as huge as a mountain, its fists beat its chest like a gorilla, and it let out a very penetrating and resonant roar. A wave of purple light shot out from the abyss magic circle that emerged from the monster's mouth, and the picture was like a rainbow penetrating the sun. The power is like space torn apart. Not good. Splendid shield. Feeling the power contained in the attack, Conquer took out a Baijian shield from the space with his left hand. Golden light appeared on both sides of the shield, as if it had a pair of wings. This epic level first order secret treasure is his most powerful defensive treasure today. Possesses the ability to reduce all attacks by 50%. The light waves spanned a kilometer and bombarded the brilliant shield. Conquer looked dignified, because the strength of this force was completely beyond his expectations. You must know that the brilliant shield has already weakened the light wave by half, but even so, the energy contained in it still makes Conqueror dumbfounded. No more reservations. Conquer gritted his teeth. If this continues to drag on, time will only be wasted in vain. Must be quick. Conquering the right hand put the West Wind Holy Sword back into the space, and took out a prismatic transparent spar. The abyss of filth, let you see the power of the holy light. A dazzling golden light erupted from the spar. Jinmang flew into the sky and escaped into the void. A gorgeous and complex sacred magic circle slowly emerged. The magic circle was dazzling golden, like a Big Ben in the torrent of time. Boom! The awe-inspiring sound of Hong Zhong suddenly rose from the magic circle. Countless strands of holy golden light emanated from the magic circle. Under the eyes of everyone, the angel shadow of Radao holding a magic scepter descends. The angel phantom is covered by a milky white halo, hazy, unable to see reality. There shouldn't be darkness in this world. Ethereal voice, mighty. The soul of any creature who heard this sound seemed to be washed by an inexplicable force. Angel phantom raised his hands high, and the scepter in front of him spun. The bright white angel wings are condensed by Tianzi Jin Dong. Clatter. These golden beams shot out like pear blossoms in a rainstorm. Ah! The leading abyss monster gradually died under the golden beam. For the monsters of the abyss, the divine power of the heavens is simply the nemesis of nemesis. Every inch of the divine light wiped out a ray of abyssal power. Watch those hateful abyssal monsters fall in pieces. Conquer Bing Lang said. If I hadn't been in a hurry, I wouldn't have used something as important as the Carlos stone here. But things have come to this point. I just hope that the middle point of this exploration is over. While preparing to move on, Conquer seems to have suddenly remembered something. He turned his head and looked at the death positions of those abyssal monsters. Strange, shouldn't there be experience points and item drops after the abyss monster is killed? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.